Hello there, everybody. My name is Forced to Reckon, and welcome back to yet another awesome podcast episode of Data Upload Podcast. I did that a little bit early, but oh well. We are joined today, as always, by myself, Forced to Reckon, and my wonderful co-host, PowerCore 2000.
Hello.
Who is in a weird position today because hiding in the corner here, assuming I can find a way to properly edit, I'll probably rotate us as we slide their face in. We are joined by the wonderful Agent Jackrabbit. Hi.
Hey there, you cadets. Hi.
And we are doing something incredibly different today because Jackrabbit had a wonderful idea.
I do have those. Oh my gosh, did I not? Where's my button? Where's my button?
Uh-oh.
I swear I have my button. Oh,
I know it's coming. PowerCore doesn't.
Oh, it's that button.
It's a real button.
On brand.
It is a real button.
It's so wonderful. Please, only the happy thoughts when using that button.
So,
Be an adventure.
we're doing something interesting because you had as we already said, wonderful idea, Jackrabbit. Why don't you go and tell us what you asked for when you came on here?
Well, so I loved everything that you guys have been doing on here, and do you mind if I give a little bit of context of just kind of the thought process that
Go off, Queen. Do whatever you want.
You do you.
So this came at a really good time for me, honestly, and I did want to just for people listening.
You didn't see anything.
I saw everything. PowerCore.
You didn't
I
see
don't know what that was.
Continue, Jackie.
I wanted to give some context for some people listening about just the affection that I hold for the two of you, because you read my article on a recent episode,
Mm-hmm.
and
a couple episodes ago.
that meant the absolute world to me. Because when I heard you guys read that, I was not having a good day at all. A little bit of a crisis of faith, honestly, when it came to just kind of SCP stuff. Honestly, really, that experience that I went through with writing that article was not typical for me at all. I'm not somebody that rushes anything when it comes to art that I'm trying to create. And that was a real challenge for me because, I do take SCP seriously, even though I'm still becoming acquainted with the on-site community. And so even though I wanted to use myself as an example for new authors, like how to write their first article, I really struggled a bit with kind of, feeling like, I don't know, that just wasn't very, in my mind, maybe not representative of what I would normally do. And there were some days where I struggled with the feelings about that because I'm a performer, I'm a voice actor. I recorded that article first by just going manic and screaming it into my phone and then writing it down.
Got that vibe, got that energy.
And, I was very proud of the voice work that I did with that, and not everybody picked up on what I was trying to do there, or some of the subtext about it being off-site versus on-site type of feelings and frustrations. And I was having kind of a bad day about all that, just kind of questioning, just what am I even doing? With in this community at all. And then Force sends me the link to the podcast, says that you guys read my article, and I'm serious, I cried a little bit, because it was just in a good way, because my god, I heard my voice acting, I heard every single little inflection, every single cadence, just the absolute insanity of it. I loved hearing you guys talk about the really dark implications of just how pressing something that subtly encourages you in a certain direction can just go off the rails like that. And it was such an awesome moment to just be you know what, I do have a place here. And this actually did land. And it was one of the first times in a while that I felt really proud of that piece. And so that's why I love you guys. And it was really excited when I got the invite.
You're going to make me cry.
Wait, and so, our podcast did that for you?
Yeah.
Not just idiots?
You guys made my day, and you really like made me feel a lot better about a lot of things that I've been doing. And so I promise I have a point as far as with what I brought in today, because one of the things that I had been struggling with at the time was letting a lot of negative voices get to me in regards to Series 1.
I have some thoughts on like the responses to Series 1 as a creator who's not SCP related. Like, I like SCPs, but I'm a D&D creator. Like, I do D&D stuff. I've been homebrew most of my life. I have a similar reaction whenever I start getting involved with people who are very hardcore book by the rules types, people who are very grumpy about anything homebrew.
I love the authors. I've been on like a bit of a crusade, really, trying to listen to them, when they see content creators who are getting really big numbers and they want to see more of their work, featured and recognized by people. Once I started hearing people talk about that, and I was kind of looking at some of my numbers, I was like, well, I want to help. I want to do something about this, but it would be difficult sometimes where you're trying to help, but then you're also like, well, and then I also have some people that I'm trying to help that are telling me the things that I like are stupid.
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of a difficulty there. And so when you guys made me feel so happy about my article that I had written, and then I got the invite and I listened to the concept of the show, I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring in one of my top 5 favorite SCP articles. Yes, it's Series 1. And it's freaking amazing, and I still love it so much. And there are newer authors who are still doing a lot of stuff with this to this day. So it's relevant to the current wiki community. And
I will say, this is such a like classic SCP, at least in the serious stuff that I've gone through. I've never actually officially read it. But I know everything about what it's about, just because whenever I'm talking with SCP friends or anybody who does anything in that area, if it comes up, they go off because it's one of the originals.
And I've never heard anybody like, people are tired of talking about this guy behind me. Shy. Made you look, everybody. 096.
This guy love his smile. How could you ever not talk about 096?
Got the possessive mask behind me. I've got my little SCP-999. Got the gang's all here.
We have to read SCP-999 at some point. PowerCore doesn't know what SCP-999 is.
I have no context.
Sure, there are a lot of SCPs that maybe like content creators can make and just get millions of views easily, instantly. I thought that this would be a really good one, considering just kind of the theme of the show, how I was feeling, how I know that a lot of even current authors still really love this article, and it is so good. And I'm really excited, Force, that you haven't actually gone through it before. It's a ride. It's so good.
The moment you told us, so to clarify for anybody who hasn't figured it out yet, we are reading just one article today. We will take pauses here and there as people come up with ideas to write down our ideas instead of like stopping after each one and doing the round table. So it's just like whenever you have an idea, we're gonna like pause, talk about that idea for a minute, and then keep going. And we'll probably talk about, because I know there are test logs and stuff in this, we'll probably like stop after each test log, something like that, to like go over ideas that one might have caused. Yeah. We'll figure it out as we go. But we are going through one SCP today, and that is SCP-093, which I forgot to open the history to see who it's actually written by. And it won't open for me. It won't open for me.
So I might be completely wrong about this, but if I'm remembering correctly, the article as it became known, iconically, it is actually a rewrite.
Yeah.
So I believe the original author is kind of a little lost to time because this is such an incredibly old article. But I know that the rewrite is by the same person who also wrote SCP-610, which is The Flesh That Hates. So all sorts of just like...
Which is one of my favorites.
So it's just like, so he's fantastic with test logs and explorations and stuff. And so, but yeah, I'm very excited. This is one of my favorites.
This is going to be good. What I'll do is, assuming when I'm listening, because I was zoned out trying to find the author, I vaguely heard what you were saying, but assuming you didn't say who the author is in there. I will go
find
through and I was gonna say I can go through and find it when I'm editing and just like record in Audacity and say like, "Hi, this is Future Force, and it was written by Neko Chris." Insert the number, the author's name at the beep.
I still would like to say,
or if somebody in chat knows it and can find it.
I know who it is. I know. Yeah, Neko Chris.
Neko Chris.
Chris. Yes.
Kitty Chris.
Chris.
Good man.
I knew that because I was in a couple Discord servers with SCP authors who were there the moment that I found out that article was by the same person who wrote The Flesh That Hates, and that I just like fangirled about the idea for some reason, and they just thought that was adorable. I'm a delight, you know.
Flesh That Hates is a fun one.
I kind of want to know more about this Flesh That Hates.
Generally, anything. Go ahead and mark it down. 610. We might read. You could read it sometime. Sarkic cult in general, like.
I have a jug of it right here.
Hey, be careful with that.
I have so many props. Anyways.
The closest thing I have to a prop is like a Hollow Reaper's mask that I don't know where it actually is. So, Jackrabbit.
Yes.
This is your idea. You are the guest, therefore you get to begin the reading. You can basically just read through the description, and then PowerCore can take over on the notes, and then we'll just kind of rotate as we go.
I'm going to read it just as it's presented on the wiki, because they do have like the original documentation like lower down. Okay, so SCP-093, object class, Euclid, special containment procedures, see testing document SCP-093-T1 for outline of testing conditions. SCP-093 must remain on a mirror at all times and under video surveillance. Admittance into the area of SCP-093's containment must be authorized only with proper video recording and subject retrieval procedures in place. Any attempt to use SCP-093 outside of an approved test will be dealt with severely, up to and including termination. Description: SCP-093 is a primarily red disc, carved from stone composite resembling cinnabar with circular engravings and unknown symbols. Carved it. This was my least favorite part of writing my stupid freaking article.
The numbers, the specifications.
The exact specifications, yes.
I think when I had to convert inches into millimeters, that was the moment that I decided that I was going to kill the head of research, okay? I was just like, this is ridiculous.
Nope.
But yeah.
How exactly big? Idea. We need it to the millimeters. I'm sorry.
I know. I was telling Tan Honey, because I was writing it on his podcast. I'm like, Tan, can't you just be like my British calculator and do this for me?
I put in numbers, I get centimeters out.
But yeah, 0.5 centimeters depth around the entire object. Deeper cuts are present on SCP-093 with a depth of more centimeters. SCP-093 is 7.62 centimeters in diameter and fits comfortably into most palms without abrasion. SCP-093 will change hue when it's held by a living individual. The colors taken by SCP-093 are still being researched to establish a link. Current belief holds that the changes depend upon regrets carried by the holder. SCP-093 is removed from a mirror and not held by a person. It will seek out the nearest mirror-like surface. SCP-093 has been observed to travel to the largest possible circle while rolling, building up phenomenal speed. I love this part. The mechanism of this acceleration is currently unknown. If an obstacle is between SCP-093 and the nearest mirror-like surface, it will use this momentum to punch through the obstacle and continue on its course at this speed.
Oh my god.
It's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Continue.
It's rolling around at the speed of sound.
I just had an idea, so finish the description.
Yes. Despite tremendous impact velocities, no damage will be dealt to SCP-093 or the mirror. Additional notes, this is the final bit. No records exist to clarify the nature of SCP-093's discovery or presence in the Foundation. See another document. Since no records exist explaining 093's methods of containment, a test procedure was not going through the original documentation. But yes, so changes color in your hands, goes absolutely apeshit to get to the nearest mirror.
Have either of you played Terraria? I think.
Yes.
Okay. So my immediate idea as we're talking about it rolling, because I never knew it rolled as it moved, because I always missed that whenever it was discussed, is it rolls. And so the immediate thing I think of is the little fucking flails or yo-yos that you throw down and land and then roll back to you. And so immediately I'm thinking magic weapon, just tied to your wrist by a band that you activate and fling it, and then it just keeps going until you pull it back, and then it hits everything on the way. Just a murder yo-yo and just chain murder stuff.
I was suddenly reminded of a dog taking off on a leash and taking you.
I was about to say you can walk the dog with this SCP, which is a yo-yo trick.
I honestly had kind of forgotten about that part about it, because this is another one of those SCPs where it's more about the explorations and everything, and less about some of the anomalous properties itself. I'm like, oh yeah, this thing just goes off.
This thing just rolls.
Zoom,
just keep rolling. Well, obviously it doesn't want to gather any moss.
I really like staying active, being healthy.
Good for it.
But yeah, so that's the general description.
Hey, Chris is telling us it's the exact diameter of a standard hockey puck as well.
Huh.
Interesting.
Additional information.
It is. I actually know this because I'm 3D printing one of these. Yeah. So that was a sudden realization as well, where I was like, oh.
So we're just imagining a big red hockey puck rolling across the ground and knocking people over. Not even a big normal-sized red hockey puck. Exact size.
Good to know for reasons. Gonna have to adjust that model a little bit. Should I read the original documentation as well, or skip to the containment test?
Go and read the original.
Cool. It's cool to hear the original documentation and see what evolved from it.
Okie dokes.
Go for it.
Then I'll kick it off with the item number SCP-093 from the original. Its object class was still Lucid. I'm going to mess this up every time. Euclid. There we go. I got it on my own before you finish.
One day you'll know how to find the Clid. It's fine.
One day. It's imaginary, though. The special containment procedures. Item SCP-093 is to be kept on a silver-lined mirror on a 0.3 by 0.23 meters, or 1 foot by 9 inches, pedestal at least 1.22 meters, or 4 feet, off the ground in containment cell block redacted. Object is not to be contained in areas exceeding 3.66 by 3.05 meters, or 12 by 10 feet, nor placed on mahogany, pine, cherry, or aluminum pedestals above or below level 1 of containment cell block redacted. Object can be handled safely, albeit gently, without consequences. Tests and consequences thereof involving containment conditions can be viewed in section -B /35-1 of the.
I promise this gets fun.
I know it gets fun.
To read. I'm gonna challenge it myself. Okay. Description: Object was found off the shore of the Red Sea, 30th January 1968. Non-redacted date. That's interesting. Emitting a low sigh and a dim blue gleam. Its color has since turned into an orange mix of red only, emitting a hum of varying volume, whilst in its presence of female examiners ages between 34 and 41.
I think there's some missing punctuation there.
Maybe a few words.
I think it's supposed to be into an orange mix of red, only emitting a hum of varying volume, whilst in the presence of female examiners of ages. So I think there's supposed to be 2 commas in there. Oof.
I'm just going. I read what
Go
I'm
on.
given.
You're nailing it.
SCP-093 resembled the documented blue for 54 by 34 at 123 on 26th April 1986. Coincidentally, when the body of 194-9834 was discovered in research facility redacted. My favorite research facility.
I know people get really on about season 1 having tons and tons of very specific numbers. I always find it really funny and fun to read because it's just and another number and another number. But it's like, it's still fun information to have, even if it's like kind of unnecessary information for especially more modern SCPs that tend to be more narrative. It's just fun. It's fun detail.
Like we don't just have ties between 194. We have ties between 194-9834 and SCP-093. Remains inconclusive, and effects of prolonged exposure to 093 remain unknown, except for infrequent reports of periods of calmness, and in the case of 242-0049, as periodic waves of depression, loss of balance, and thoughts of suicide. Do not use if you exhibit these symptoms. These feelings have reportedly... I was
thinking along the exact same lines for a joke. I'm just trying to like think, how do I put this in there?
It took me a bit to think of it too.
I need a parody like pharmaceutical commercial for the original documentation of this. Like,
there we go.
Yeah, the object seemed. Wait, there wasn't the. Oh no, there wasn't a the. I must be accurate. Object seemed to react to the presence of 242-0056 by turning light violet for no more than 2 minutes 9 seconds, as documented on March 12th, 1993. Effects of this reaction remain unknown. Additional notes. Origins of 093 remain unknown, and documents of recovery of 093 have since been destroyed in a fire in research facility redacted of the 9th of December, 1989. Reports of the feelings of researchers who have handled 093 have remained inconsequential since April 19, 1995.
So that's the original article.
And then everything else.
Gosh. Wait until you see what this guy did with that concept. My god. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
How you feeling so far, PowerCore?
Oh yeah, also I would like to point out the Foundation does not care about your feelings if you've handled this product since April 19th, 1995. All complaints go inside the shredder.
It's funny that they even bother specifying that. I feel like the reports of the feelings of anyone in their employ don't ever matter. So.
Hey, they used to care about the researchers until April 19th, 1995.
No, they were like, it's not in the budget.
Look, we get
They
it.
learned that they couldn't afford to care.
We don't have the money. We don't have the time. You go cry in your office. It's fine. Here's a fancy button. This will help.
Do you have any remaining feelings? SCP-093-Test 1 Containment Test. Testing of SCP.
I'll do test 1, and then we'll just like rotate as the tests go.
Sure.
Since you've just done all of that.
How's your throat feeling for us?
My throat's feeling fine.
Good, okay.
It's a little bit sore just imagining all the numbers.
I know, right?
No, my throat's all right so long as I don't. For those who don't know, I tore my throat or something. I don't fucking know. When I was eating like a bacon cheeseburger or something. I don't know. I had a milkshake afterwards, and this is like a few days ago, and my throat was sore. And then ever since then, like anytime I drink something that's cold or hot or too salty or too sugary, my throat goes.
I told them beforehand. I'm just like, I literally cannot shut up, so it's fine. I was the perfect guest to call in if you weren't able to talk. But go, yes. Let's hear.
All planned out.
My last interjection. That is the most American way to injure your throat ever. Eating a bacon cheese. Please tell me it was a double bacon cheeseburger for us.
No, it was just single. It was a single small-sized bacon cheeseburger. It was my reward to myself because I have successfully, for the first time in months, paid my rent before it's due and had excess money left over.
This is getting more and more American. The more and more American, where you have that small victory, and then you rip your, and then you're like, "I'll ice it with a milkshake."
Well, the milkshake came with it, and I didn't realize until I started drinking the milkshake. SCP-093 T1 Containment Test. You're our expert here today on SCP
information. Yeah,
exactly, an expert. Testing of SCP-093 against conditions set forth for existing containment procedures to assess viability of continuing such containment, beginning with changing the type of mirror used as a position of rest. Mirrored surface, brass frame, retail-grade mirror. Results: SCP-093 rests without activity when placed on the mirror. This test alone removes the need for costly silver or wooden containment systems. Standard grade table. Results. SCP-093 turns upright and begins to roll across the table surface in one direction, making a U-turn and rolling to the other, completing an oval shape and repeating this action until a mirror is brought into vicinity of it, at which time SCP-093 rolls toward the mirror and lays flatways against it, sliding toward the center. It is noted that despite the grainy feel of SCP-093, it does not mark the mirror in any fashion while moving across it. 2 mirrors at either end of a standard grade table. SCP-093 gravitates toward the closer mirror regardless of orientation and makes no distinction between different types of mirrors, favoring a factor of distance above all else and choosing the mirror to move to. A mirror held by a person and moved around. SCP-093 follows the mirror as it moves, gaining speed until a maximum velocity of redacted is reached. At any velocity, the impact of SCP-093 against the mirrored surface results in no damage to either object. A person holding SCP-093 placing it on a mirror. This test was accidental, the result of one of the staff tripping another after some debate about who would be covering the lunch tab. As a result of the behavior of the researchers, it was discovered that a person holding SCP-093 and placing it against a mirror will in fact move into the mirror. Addendum. Containment testing discontinued after establishing that SCP-093 requires only a mirror to rest inert. Testing on human interaction with mirrors while holding SCP-093 authorized by Dr. Redacted. Did you catch that? Did you catch that, Power Core?
Yes, authorized by Dr. Redacted.
Did you catch what happened?
No, I'm kidding. If it makes contact with a mirror, it seems at a specific speed, they figured out that it has a reaction due to one of the researchers tripping the other.
If a person places it on the mirror, they can go through the mirror.
Ooh.
It's key. It's very important information.
Thank you for reinforcing it. I totally wasn't doing anything naughty in the background.
I know it's like it's a bit of a brain blur for a while, and this is the oh shit moment where
it's the
you can go somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it just eats you, it could just be hungry, which has also just now given me the mirror mimic idea. That's just how mimics work, but
that would be interesting because if it only reacts to an actual mirror, if you attempted to use it on a mirror mimic, whoopsie.
Ooh.
Why won't it go to places puck close to mirror? Rolls the other way.
Oh, that's a mimic.
Huh. That's Goodbye.
That would be Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I also just realized, kind of based on, have either of you ever played Dragon Age?
Yes.
Do you remember the giant transportation mirrors?
Vaguely. I don't really.
Also vaguely. I was going to say, I can
can
only store so much useless information in this noggin, and it's currently all SCP.
We were at capacity for random facts. But I really liked, there were 2 kind of interpretations of it. One was specific giant mirrors were linked up to a giant network for each other. So they were like fast travel points. If you could access one, you go into a subdimension, access all the others. So pretty good way to reliably get around. Another thought, though, is actually you can use any mirror, and just by using that, if you have like the right key code, you can dial up any other mirror that's currently functioning. Yes, it is basically a Stargate, a glass gate.
I will say though, I did like the mention of the mimics there, where it's just like, hey, could perhaps this object be used to test, and if it is repelled by a mimic mirror, that can help warn you that that's not actually a mirror. That's interesting as well.
The really interesting question there, though, is since it has to be a reflective surface, would it even go away from the mirror mimic, or would it just attach to the mirror mimic because it's still reflecting? And then could you?
How good of a mimic is it?
It's in coats.
Oh no.
Okay.
That actually, building on that, made me think of the mimic magnet. It actually only sticks to mimics. It will only no matter what the mimic is, it will stick to it.
I love like a mimic dowsing magnet or something. It's like you're in a treasure room. It's like, hold on. Just across the room. Mimic! Everyone just nukes it.
I knew this was gonna give you guys so many freaking ideas, and we haven't even gotten started. It's such a great article.
I didn't know the color test yet. We're on containment test.
Exactly. All right, Jackie. Why don't you go and do the mirror test?
Okay. All right. Yes.
We're actually making all right time. It's only been 40 minutes. Fine.
All right.
Has it? Jesus.
SCP-093-T2 mirror test. Subjects testing SCP-093 must wear a Class 3 buckle harness strapped to the chest and attached to a tension pulley system, allowing for 1,000 feet of movement.
Jesus.
Hold on, how many squares is that? Real quick. Oh, 200.
Let's see. Additional spools may be added to extend movement if necessary. The class connecting these spools must be. Let's see. Oh, my printer kind of screwed up there. Even my printer was bored at all this. Listen, for the sake of time. All right. So, test subjects entering the mirror dimension are given one wrist mounted light source, with 3 hours of lifespan. The light source, not the human.
Are you sure? Because if we could clone humans with exact specific amounts of lifespan, we could make sure they'd never turn on us. That'd be handy.
We'll see how these D-class fare with their adventures. Let's see. 3 hours lifespan, additional power sources providing up to 6 additional hours. 4.5 liter water bottles with water. Oh, good. The water bottles have water.
They stay hydrated. Oh no, you gave the water bottles without water.
Could you imagine just empty water bottles, just like, good luck?
Oh, good. It looks like they put water bottles on our list. Yeah, did you check to make sure they actually put water in those ones? What do you? Well, it didn't say with water, and they tend to be a little bit picky.
Stingy.
4 MREs of any type plus 2 plain granola bars, chocolate chips allowed.
Yay!
I love that that's specified. Chocolate, you get a little treat, D-class.
Yay.
1 standard issue Beretta 9mm firearm with 24 rounds of ammunition loaded. This is not to be issued until the subject has passed into a mirror using 093 and should be given under armed supervision, ensuring that the subject passes through entirely. This item is to be requisitioned first upon subject's return, and subject is to be made aware of this before leaving line of sight within 093's mirror. 1 standard issue field knife. The subject is not to be made aware of this item and must find it within their own kit.
Okay, it's just another little present for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Don't want them.
Necro-Chris is not nice to the D-class on these, and I love it. Like,
I mean, let's be fair. At the time, D-class were all like hardened murder criminals and shit like that. So it's like,
well, and that's another reason I love this article, because there's a lot of nuance in this one when it comes to the D-class, I think. And so the subject must also be attached to a video system with a camera mounted on the subject's head or shoulders. The video device should be cable-based and allow for the same length of travel as the return system. Wireless cameras have shown mixed results and should only be used for testing. New colors. This is like one of my favorite articles. What are you talking about? Like, new colors supposed to be tested and used. Okay.
I want the colors. I'm kidding.
Yes, I want I crave the colors. I want the Skittles. During testing, the color of 093 must be recorded, as well as a history of the subject in terms of their incarceration, to identify how 093 determines the color to assume. A link appears to be connected to guilt or lack thereof in the subject's psyche. The attached test results should be read in order.
Okay.
Get into the real meat and potatoes.
And before we get into the real meat and potatoes,
and rainbows,
quick pause to go through, see if anybody's got any idea. Because I've written down a few of my ideas already, with the murder yo-yo and the mirror mimic and the dowsing magnet and the giant linked mirrors. What are you thinking, Jackie? You got any game ideas up in that noggin?
Well, I really like what I really do like what you've come up with. We're very like-minded in that way. I have to be honest. I'm not. I haven't played a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons myself. One of the reasons.
Just any game idea. It doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons specific.
Well, I love I do enjoy games like the Mass Effect series is one of my favorites. I love choice-based games where you can only really unlock certain, well, I mean, Undertale is one of my favorite games. What am I talking about? Where you play things to completion by doing all sorts of messed up stuff. And so I like the idea that this object changes very specifically depending on your choices and your morality alignment. That's what I really liked about it, is that, and I know I had mentioned to both of you in our chat that there's a SCP video game called SCP Fragmented Minds that's being worked on right now. Where they're actually going to work 093 into a side quest. And I don't know for sure if this is what they're going to do, but my brain immediately was like, oh my gosh, if there's choices in the game, maybe you can only access certain side quests with this object depending on if you're a good person or a bad person. So in a video game, in any type of setting, I like the idea of having an object that allows you to access side quests or secret locations based off of your morality, and perhaps they can't even be undone, so it like forces you to replay that game a lot. Because I love
a physical item that changes or represents your morality. That's good, because I don't think that's actually done too often. Even D&D has started to kind of cut back on the items that change based on like your alignment.
Well, even then in D&D it's less that they change based on your alignment, more that they require a specific alignment usually to utilize. Like a sword that leeches blood from people requires you to be evil sometimes. Or like a holy avenger, like a hammer requires you to be good.
I like games that really encourage replay value, and so an item like this that it represents like replay value basically, where it's just like, okay, well now I have to go, now I'm gonna kill everybody.
You'll play a different kind of character.
Now I'm going to kill everybody except for one person, and it's a different color.
It's not the total genocide color. It's the soft genocide color.
You genocide everyone except for the only innocent in the entire game, and technically you did the right thing. And did it genocidally. So it's like, chaotic neutral.
But yeah, which is my alignment. And like the one time I played D&D, they're like, you're chaotic neutral. I'm like, okay.
Chaotic neutral is, so for those who don't know the alignment system, there is the law chaos scale and there's the good evil scale. Law is typically those who act within the boundaries of laws, be they laws of the land, their own internal laws and like moral code of conduct, or just like a set of expectations and rules upon reality. So like if something doesn't fit within the way they perceive reality should work. It can be pretty loosey-goosey, which is why you can have a paladin who's like, I'm lawful good, but they'll go against like the laws of the land because they're following their code of conduct, and if their code of conduct goes against the law of the land, it can overwrite that. That's part of why some people mark Batman actually as a lawful good character, because he doesn't kill. He has his specific strict code of ethics and rules and how he engages in combat.
And there's still consequences for that. And so yeah, that's what I thought this would work well in any type of a game or setting where it's just like, if we're talking about alignments, we're talking about these specifics, this item allows for a very specific type of quest for that individual. And then in like a video game, it would be cool for replay. So yeah, that's my
Yep. I've actually got this in my head now. It's an interesting MacGuffin to force interaction between, like, you take a party of like 5 people and it's like, all right, each of you has to have at least one of you has to be law, one of you has to be good, one of you has to be evil, one of you has to be chaotic. But as long as each of the alignments is present, and then you just make it so that like they have to, like, they don't want to work together because the evil guy doesn't want to help the good guy, blah 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 blah. But you have this item, this MacGuffin, that allows them to do something which they need to do in everyone's different variation of what it does in order to reach their final objective that everyone holds. And so they're like, Paladin's like, I don't like how you work Necromancer, but I'll fucking work with you because...
And some of that will kind of go on, and I will say, to assure you both, for the sake of time, with most SCP articles, we just went over the description. So as far as just kind of like how this thing functions, we have pretty much covered that. And what is going to be exciting going forward is kind of is having some examples of what these ideas we were just discussing kind of would actually look like.
Mhm.
Because they're going to go there.
Here we go. Power Core, before we go in, did you have any specific ideas you wanted to add to the list so far?
Yeah, I told you I can't shut up.
No,
you're
it's fine because I'm good. I got an early idea in, and all I can think of now are mood rocks based on Jackie's idea, which is it just changes color based on your alignment or your morality.
That's another thing you can do. You could have a trickster like Faye just give this item to the party and be like, it's very, very important. And depending on what color it is, it could change your entire course of his everything. And then, and then the players are like, so who should be holding it? And all it is it just changes color. Doesn't it?
Very, very reminiscent of the original article. I like that. It's just like, so why do we care? That's the neat part. We don't.
I'm a green. I'm a blue. If you want to make it a bit more dystopian, though, that way people know what the colors mean and actually socially treat you differently based on your color. This is a blue only. I'm sorry. Only red moral people are allowed in this room. Thank you very much. You're second class yellow.
Make it even
say dystopia.
Make it even more dystopian. Force have mandatory headbands that you have to wear that display these so everybody can always see.
Yep, you're not allowed to hide your color. Granted, one bucket of paint destroys the society.
So I can't see the chat, but if people in the chat are familiar with this article, and they might know that you guys are on to something.
I vaguely know where this goes. I don't know that Power Core does, so...
Nope.
Buckaroos.
So Jackie just did that. Power Core, why don't you go and read us the blue test? Or, it's kind of long, so if you feel the need to breathe, just popcorn, ask one of us to take over.
Breathing's for weak, maybe halfway through. Mirror test 1, color blue. Subject is D-20384, male, 34 years of age, I say years young. Strong physique. Subject's background shows instance of murder/attempted suicide. Subject is cooperative in all steps of testing. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-093, which emitted a blue color. Outside technicians observed that the mirror retained a true reflection until the subject had completely passed through it, at which time the view changed to an outdoor landscape, heavily tinged in blue. Video feed follows in attached media. Camera activates, flickers to view. Subject is looking out over the same field reported by technicians. Looks like typical lowland plains. Everything has a heavy blue tinge, overlapping the normal colors. No discernible landmarks visible as subject pans view left to right. Only grass, weeds, and a breeze moving the taller grass. No trees, no living beings visible. Subject moves forward as instructed, traveling for approximately 500 steps before something becomes visible. A patch of the land up ahead is barren, and grass can be seen dying as subject approaches it. Approximately 300 forward steps, subject is standing before a hole in the ground. I reversed the
word.
Love it. I love it. Very poetic.
The hole has been dug using unknown tools of primitive origin. Pulley system engaged, and the camera suffers a light shudder. Subject is instructed to enter the hole, and after mild protesting agrees to do so. There is no apparent method of descent, such as a ladder or rope. Subject relies entirely on his own hands and the pulley system to slow the descent. Okay, he's yoinking on the camera cord in order not to fall into high speed.
He has his own pulley as well, so the camera has a wire, and then he has like a wrap around his waist.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just worried about the camera wire. That's giving me anxiety.
Priorities, it's just a D class. We don't care about him. We want the footage.
Yeah. Approximately 100 meters of cable is used before a bottom is reached. Light source provided in the field kit activated 50 meters down when outside sources become unreliable. Sweeping gestures of light reveal nothing more than dirt even at the bottom of the hole. Subject moves forward with assistance of light source. Asked about the blue tinge, subject expresses confusion and says there is no such tinge from his perspective, and never was. Light is visible down the passage, and 150 meters of cable have been used. Out of the camera's eye sound is recorded of the firearm being repaired. When questioned
Hold on, where
about
was
these
that?
actions,
I've lost the spot.
we're in fourth paragraph.
Out of the
second
camera's eye. Wow, Jesus.
Yeah,
This is why I printed it out. Yeah.
that's fair. I wanted to make sure I wasn't having the stroke. It's okay when I read the verbal stroke. Out of the camera's eye sound that was recorded of the firearm being prepared. When questioned about these actions, subject states justified precaution and moves forward. And this will be the last paragraph I read.
I'll take over.
The tunnel turns from bare dirt to a concrete enclosure. Subject complains of a stench. The light source is revealed to be the ceiling light fixtures, a series of which with less than a quarter broken, while others function. A series of 6 doors, 3 to a side, span before the camera view, with a 7th door visible at the end of the corridor that has been blocked by what looks like generic metal shelving debris. Debris shows signs of rustling, and is a typical type of retail store units, suggesting other human presences.
Added
That's
2 entire words there.
Yes, that's why I swapped over.
Okay.
You're a hero.
Thank you for thanking me for my service.
I'm the one who's subjecting you guys to this one, so thank you. But yes.
All right.
Subject
Subject requested to try doors in whatever order he chooses. Subject tries first door on right. Door is locked. Does not open. Second door tries to open but does not budge. Unlocked but blocked. Closing second door. Third door is tried. Same results as first. And that was my haiku. Going up the other side, the third door does open fully and light is bright in the room. Portable light switched off at this time as subject pans camera to inspect the room. So this reminds me of at one point I did a thing on Twitter about a monster, and I did like a little detail blurb on it. The detail blurb was supposed to be a video recording, but I wrote it beforehand, forgetting that it was a video recording halfway through, and started writing it just as like a general descriptors of the things, and then wait, no, hold on, oops, and had to go back through and re-edit that. This is exactly what happened because things got shifted and twisted, and I forgot to change some words here and there, and it just ended up looking like.
It's half video, half descriptor, all written.
And I'm loving listening to you guys read this because again, I'm kind of like viewing this through the like mental lens of like a game where I'm picturing just like walking up to these doors and like pressing the button and having that descriptor of just like it's locked or like it's locked and it's blocked and everything. Like this is such a just very very Zelda type of
very
thing.
game.
It's definitely not D&D, because if you walk up to a door in D&D and the DM says it's locked, they go, okay, I try to pick the lock.
I break down the lock.
I break down the door. I shoot a fireball. Players do not like locked doors in D&D.
Yeah, but I like this from like a video game, type of thing because for me, like, like Legend of Zelda was such a formative game for me as a kid. And so like
such a good game.
Walking up to locked doors and being told that it's locked or that something's blocking it, your imagination is like,
what's
why
back there?
Exactly.
Well, why? And so this is you'll see why this is just I love this article. Anyways,
if it's locked, there must be something important behind. That's the reason it happens in D&D where they bang on the doors.
It's a hand that needs toilet paper.
He just needs some assistance. Hopefully it's not fucking redeads. I don't like doors with them behind them.
Oh, redeads. Oh god. Moving on, because fuck that. Mental image. Woo. Okay, so the door, the person just stepped in. He pans the camera to inspect the room. The room is bare. No contents, but the walls are filthy. I'm just going to start editing this as I read. Subject states that the material on the walls isn't dirt, but he can't identify it. It seems to resemble melted plastic, but is brown in color rather than black. The door is closed. He tries the second door on the left, which has no handle, and does not move when pushed. The hole where the handle was is plugged by an unknown material. All doors are shaped in such a way that nothing can visibly escape from the sides and space, for movement is too thin to look through, even at ground level. First door on the left hand is locked. but part of the key is present in the lock, from the stem to the ridges. The back has been broken off. With effort, the subject manipulates the key to open the door and immediately begins coughing, complaining of a stench. The walls of the room are clean, as is the floor, but the ceiling is coated in the same strange brown material as the third room.
Guano.
In this room, there is a makeshift cot made from aged blankets with a pillow, a wooden crate containing open boxes of what appears to have been foodstuffs. Oh, wow. Okay, that one. Yep. There's a wooden crate containing open boxes of what appears to have been foodstuffs. Language appears on the video as squiggles, however, subject states they simply read cereal. Thank you very much, Shadow, for the follow, you awesome little hover monster. Welcome on in.
Hello.
A second crate in the room contains what appear to be empty water bottles that have dried out. A book lays next to the cot, closed, with no title or identifying marks. On the wall is what appears to be clipped articles, but the language cannot be read. The subject is asked to remove clippings for retrieval. All of the articles except one crumble at the touch due to age. The intact article is put in a field sample container and seems the most recent compared to the others. Subject is asked to investigate the book and begins to move toward it. Audio on the tape goes strange, and a high-pitched screeching noise, like grinding metal, dominates all communication for 3.5 seconds. Subject does not touch the book still, and when the noise stops, subject asks Control to repeat the request. Control made no requests during that time, as their headsets were removed. Subject advised to leave the room, and notes that the doors begun closing slowly on its own, and, if left alone, will close. Subject is advised to leave the door alone, and to investigate the door on the right.
Yeah,
Careful.
as a quick idea, a horror game where all the doors will slowly close if you leave them open, but allow a different door to open. Seemed like a very fun way to make a maze, and a really fun way to give your player anxiety.
I just remembered one thing that I had wanted to tell you guys about my article that I promised ties into this, is that I made a lot of references to PT in my article, which is it appears in almost all of my work somewhere, and I was immediately reminded of PT in this moment just now, like reading this. I was like, oh my gosh, just like, walking down a hallway, all of a sudden you hear a door shut behind you, you turn around, there's like oh my gosh, this is very much, there's so much horror game stuff going on in here. It's all so subtle and just the tension. But
the feeling that people were there, the unbeknownst marks. We are in a horror game now. Or this for D classes.
Don't touch that dial, because we're just getting started.
Ooh. All right. Careful review of the following 10 seconds of tape shows that as the camera pans, a figure is visible at the end of the tunnel where the 7th door is. The door is open only enough for a face to be seen through a crack just before the door silently closes. No details can be seen. Subject investigates the 2nd door on the right, with no mention of having seen anything out of the ordinary. This door, when pushed against, moves, and after repeated bashings, moves enough to view inside at an angle. A corkboard is visible with more articles attached to it, and the top of a box of cereal can be seen on the floor, and what appears to be a hand laying palm up. Subject closes the door.
I was about to say it is the hand.
I was so focused on the reading, I didn't even think. I'm hyper focusing into the reading.
We got you, boo.
Sucked in.
The subject closes the door and pans the camera past door 7, which remains closed. Seeing nowhere else to explore, the subject requested to return. Subject poses no protest and complains of ever-increasing stench. Word. As subject returns back down the tunnel, his camera feed does not change or show any anomalies, but Control reports a sudden surge in cable movement, pulling an additional 100 meters of cable through before going slack again and then tightening. Video feed shows the subject ascending the tunnel slowly, while Control attempts to verify integrity of the pulley system. The subject is requested to stop ascent, but states he is not climbing. The rope is pulling him up. Panic sets in on both sides. The subject is informed to ready firearm. Upon reaching the top of the hole, nothing is visible on the camera. The subject reports nothing has changed in the landscape. Then begins a return trip following the path of the cable, traveling for approximately 900 steps, Subject asks how much cable he has used. Control admits they are unsure due to complications, but the subject traveled in a straight line to reach the hole, so it should be a straight line back. Subject becomes concerned when he states that more cable is visible now, moving in a 90-degree angle away from a point in the ground. Subject pans the camera around full circle slowly. On film, behind the subject, a crowd of 37 countable figures stand silently. Their features are unidentifiable, and they are lacking the blue tinge that dominates the landscape. Panic breaks out in the control room, but subject notes the only oddity as being the cable having an angled path. Subject tugs his end of the cable, and it is taut and does not move. Control begins to reel in the pulley system, and slack rapidly winds. Watching the angled cable movement can be seen as
Evangelion.
Stop it.
I'm sorry, Angel Cable, Evangelion, and my brain just went to whatever the fucking anime is where the guy is pilot and the girls are just sitting in front of him.
Darling in the Franks.
Darling in the Franks, thank you.
Yeah. Useless information. It's all in here.
It's not useless. I needed that information. It was very useful at the moment.
I need that information an hour from now.
Have you never seen Darling in the Franks?
I actually haven't, so it's something to watch on the list.
Mm-hmm. It's something to watch, all right.
It's something to watch, all right.
Where was I?
Hours of your life you can't get back, that's for sure.
Don't tempt me with such a good time. But continue forward.
Anyways, yes. SCP.
Reel in the pull, is some slacks.
Angled cable, watching the angled cable.
I know, that's what I'm looking for.
Fourth paragraph, halfway in it. Fourth from the bottom.
This is one of the more descriptive tests because it's the first time they've gone in there. So, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you want, I could just take over. I know exactly where you were.
Concern is visible now, moving at a 90-degree angle away from a point in the ground.
If you want to take over, because you know where it was, I will. I don't mind reading the green test in its entirety. So
go and take over. My brain is just melted.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Watching the angled cable movement can be seen as grass is disturbed further down the angled portion from breathing.
I looked back up and immediately found the point as he started reading.
You got it. I'm taking it. All right. I'm running into the finish line.
You're gonna have it. My sorest throat. Anyways.
Your sorest throat.
Yes.
Your poor sore. Angled cable movement can be seen as the grass is disturbed further down the angled portion from the reeling. I think it means and then the line vibrates as it meets resistance and emits a twang from the recoil. Subject's camera pans back along the length of the cable, which now appears to slowly be allowing more slack, before suddenly all slack is returned and the pulley system begins again. Control requests the subject following the cable path, and screams are caught on the audio, with panic from subject. 5 shots are fired as the subject aims pistol at something not visible on camera. Control reports being able to see the subject returning toward point of origin, while camera shows wire disappearing into a point floating in the air. As subject passes this point, all cable is now in the pulley system, and camera films only the floor. Control reports that the mirror took approximately 5 seconds to return to a reflection, and SCP-093 remained blue in color until 1 hour after being recovered from subject. A vile-smelling fluid was present on the subject's clothes around his hands when the firearm was recovered. The fluid dried quickly and was deemed insignificant of study due to lack of quality sample. Control personnel monitoring the mirror state have seen a massive human being crawling on the ground, easily 50 times the size of a normal person, with no facial features, and of a very short arm pulling itself toward the mirror before it returned to a reflection. Due to proximity, fine details cannot be made out, but at least one observer noted that being appeared to have been shot okay, now I understand the sentence. But at least one observer noted that the being appeared to have been shot multiple God, now I don't understand
there's no multiple. The word multiple is not there at all, sir.
I think it is, but I'm hallucinating.
I don't want to give you a hard time for reading this and having trouble reading this because it's so awkward to read. But
I muted the hear myself, so now I won't hear myself multiple times. Due to proximity, fine details could not be made out, but at least one observer noted the being appeared to have been shot from the marks in the otherwise smooth, featureless face. Field test kit recovered from subject containing a newspaper article that reads data expunged. The file was filed as item data expunged. We did it! I got it! Yay me!
Very good. Very good.
Fantastic.
Scene rating job. It wasn't that good.
So we had some ideas tossed around in there. Green test. Thoughts, ideas.
Okay, so that was the blue test. What do you guys think about what you've what's been uncovered here?
I liked the story and the atmosphere it gave, and one of the ideas, because when you mentioned PT, I started to remember, oh yeah, every time you entered it through the door in that game, the living room changed a bit. Expanding on that, a horror game where if a door closes, where it leads to is different, as long as it's open, it still maintains that link. And there was another little horror game called like The Slide, where you keep going up this little playground slide, but every time you'd come down the slide, things would change slightly. What we're in like a different dimension. Playing on that too. Every time you enter this house, its doors change, but after you complete like an objective, the outside of the house also changes. So the whole outer environment's different.
Yeah. One thing that I do want to make sure that you guys make a mental note of is that there were some distinct differences between what Control was seeing through the camera and what this D class was experiencing, where not only were they seeing things through the colored hue, of the disc, but they were reporting seeing these beings, or like these hands, or like people, faces closing the door, and the D class did not seem to see those. And so I do think that's put a pin in that.
Yeah. And likewise, the D class saw something that it was opening fire on that I don't believe Control could see.
They not through the camera, but they could see it through the mirror.
Through the mirror. Yeah. And I know that we've been sharing around some pretty iconic artwork from this article. So think about that.
Oh yeah, Bunny Man, who just wants a hug.
Big ol' marshmallow man.
Big ol' marshmallow man. He's such a good boy. He could never be bad. It's fine.
He only has my best interest at heart. Look at that hat. I could never hate it.
Oh, they don't know what we're talking about.
Nope. And they still won't.
That's fine. They'll never
there is
know.
a way for them to know.
Yes. I
can hide the camera.
I have a fun habit of photoshopping this little bunny hat on pretty much anything, and the creatures from SCP-093, our icon in our group chat, is one of them wearing. So.
It took me a while to figure out what that picture was. People listening, you're not missing anything. I'm not showing it on screen at all. Even the Power Core says he has a way. There was a picture. There was a picture used for the icon in the group chat that we created for this, and it has a little pink bunny hat photoshopped onto it. And it took me like a good hour before I remembered. Oh, is that what they're actually supposed to look like? Is that the actual art for the? Because I always imagined them like big, like grub worms crawling. Just like
that's kind of a good. That's a good descriptor, actually. Yeah.
So that's always been my imagination. I don't know. Nobody can see what's happening right now.
Rip, they can't see my camera?
No, I turned you off the moment I saw anything appear. Okay, you're back. I am going to cover it in the edit though. If you guys want to see stuff like this, you can go over to twitch.tv/force2reckon. They're every Friday at 5 p.m. Sometimes other days.
Everywhere.
There were two of them for a second.
They're multiplying. Bum, bum, bum.
And dividing.
What about you, Forrest? Do you have any new ideas that this
Not
is?
not really. I was so absorbed in actually reading and trying to live edit that like my brain was not parsing ideas. I just wrote down the idea of and merged it with the one power core just expanded on of
Yeah.
an area like a dungeon or something where every door you go through just slowly starts closing.
Yeah.
And all the other doors out are locked until that door closes. There's no way to get through them.
I don't think I quite realized until we were rereading this, like, why I loved this so much. Where it's just like, oh god, yeah, this is a horror game. It's a horror game.
Oh.
But we're gonna get into what happened and what's going on here. So,
small tangent. I did not have like an appreciation for horror until I was like 16 or 17, and even then, like, I have not seen any of the classic horrors. Like, I'm completely unconnected to that entire sphere because, yes, you could call me uncultured swine in that regard. Just because, like, when I was real little, and even like today, I still have like a very, very potent imagination. Comment I like to say is that if I really want to, as long as I don't have other things going on that are distracting me, I can try to and regularly focus in and give myself hallucinations of objects physically in a space, which I'm sure poses no terrible implications for my mental health when I lose control of my mind later in my later years. I'm sure that's going to be fine.
Hallucination between friends.
That's a little hallucination between friends.
But as it stands right now, when I really want to think about something, I can imagine it and put the pieces together and stuff like that. And it's. But when I was real little, it would mean that even like the smallest bit of horror in something would create nightmares for weeks. Like weeks and weeks. I could not fucking handle it. And I finally got over it because my little brothers do not have this issue. And they loved Call of Duty Zombies. And they would hijack my Xbox for hours and hours and hours on end in my bedroom playing zombies. They always wanted me to play with them. And I'm like, I can't play that. Zombies. Zombies are scary. And eventually I'm like, I want to play with you guys. So,
I always highly encourage people to, to try and confront the things that frighten you in a safe way, and that's one of the reasons I love SCP. Is that you have this place where you can experience horror or create this horror and discover things about what scares you that you might not have fully understood before. But what's so great is that it's such a massive collaborative community that you'll end up meeting like-minded people who can joke about that stuff with you too, and you find ways to overcome all sorts of things that you might not have been able to face without that creative outlet. And so that's why I love horror games. That's why I love SCP. It's just it's so awesome for all that stuff.
I basically
should we focus, because I could go on forever about how much I love SCP.
I just have one more thing to add to it. The way I finally got over like my fear was literally by sitting down and forcefully desensitizing myself to the concept of horror by just making myself play alone in the dark Call of Duty Zombies every night before bed for like an hour, and it was fucking nightmares. And eventually I just had dreams where I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm mowing down the zombies. Stop fucking scaring me in my dreams.
It becomes a power fantasy instead.
This is also the time. This is also the time when I started like lucid dreaming on the regular, because I guess my brain was like, I have to take control of my dreams, otherwise I won't be.
I very much relate to that. That's actually one of the reasons why PT is such a huge favorite for me. I used to be on this anti-anxiety medication that was very good during the day, but would cause me to mildly hallucinate at night when all the lights were off.
I'm sure that doesn't
worst time to hallucinate.
And I would always, and I was on this medication for a couple years, every night hallucinate Lisa from PT standing in my hallway. Yeah.
I'm sorry, because I assume it's not a good hallucination if Lisa's standing there.
Have you not seen Lisa? Do you not know Lisa?
And like every single time I would close my eyes and almost fall asleep, I'd have that feeling in my brain of like, I wonder if she's gotten closer. And there would be times where I'd be so close to falling asleep that I would roll over and open my eyes and she'd be standing right next to me, looming over me. But yeah, that game impacted me a lot. But it also kind of pushed me because I did understand that what I was seeing wasn't real. But what it forced me to do was kind of, in a weird way, kind of make peace with just that horror. Of recognize, this isn't real. This is still outside of my control, though. I don't want to be experiencing this. It's not real, but it's terrifying me, and I live with this. And like, I'm here. She never, hurt me or anything. But it's just like, yeah, like I love ideas like that of just like being like, this isn't real, but it's my life. Though.
That's
so
literally
it is real.
anxiety to a T. Anxiety is literally, there's a thing that your brain is worried about, is not necessarily, is regularly not real, it's not actually a threat, there's nothing actually bad about it, but your brain is just stuck on it. Chemicals are firing, it can't stop.
Yeah, I had to basically make the decision of just like, well, are you going to hallucinate Lisa from PT every single night, or are you going to live with anxiety? And I'm actually still on that medication, but I don't see Lisa anymore because I actually made the decision.
No.
I suddenly was like, I can handle this. I can make peace with this. I can, you know what? Actually, I can handle this. I can handle her. It's okay. And I stopped seeing her, and I was like, what?
You confronted an inner demon, and you banished the hallucination.
But no, I think well, especially with being in lockdown and getting older, I think it's pretty normal for like our weird like deep-seated fears that our parents or other people wouldn't talk to us about. They manifest in these ways, where suddenly you're very much faced with that, and it goes in different directions for different people, and mine was Lisa from PT. Apparently. I think the spookiest thing to me with that, though, is that I reached some sort of conclusion with it, and then she disappeared, and then I was
she was just there to teach you a lesson. She was trying to be a friend.
Confront an inner demon.
Well, then I was like, wait, was there actually a ghost in there?
The only ghosts are inside yourself, and that makes it scarier and less scary.
You can imagine that ghost you're finally over it, and she's just like outside the window one night. It's like she's happy again. Goodbye. He goes off to haunt some other home.
Lisa from PT gives me a little just like forehead smooch and just leaves, and like just all
goodbye, sweet child.
She still kind of shambles though. Her legs aren't fully recovered. You didn't fully beat the demon. You just beat most of it.
All right. Let me just see how long this one is. I'll go ahead and take this one for you guys.
Thank you.
You can popcorn if you end up needing it, but
all right. So the green test. Subject is D54493, female, 23 years of age, average physique. Good for her. Subject's background shows. I don't know.
No body shaming here.
Yeah. Average physique. Imagine just like supposed to be exceptional physique.
Imagine just being average. I'm sorry. I'll stop tangenting.
Okay. Subject's background shows instance of grand theft auto and second-degree murder of 2 children during escape with this vehicle. Subject is cooperative in all steps of testing. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-093, which emitted a green color. Outside technicians observed that the mirror retained a true reflection until subject had completely passed into it, at which time the view changed to a farming landscape, heavily tinged in green, similar to the first test. Video feed follows in attached media. Camera activates and flickers to view. Subject is looking over the same farmland reported by technicians. All greens throughout the video are deeper, and green tinge overlays the normal colors of objects similar to the blue tinge in Test 1. No landmarks from Test 1 are discernible as subject pans camera over the area. Present is a field, long abandoned, in the middle of which stands the remains of a scarecrow of unknown design. Fragments left are rotten and torn. Nothing grows in the tilled land. A farmhouse is visible to the right of the field, large 2 stories. A basement shelter entrance is visible at one end. Subject prepares her sidearm immediately and is asked by control to relax before proceeding.
Chill.
Her heavy breath. Yeah, girl. Listen here, average physique. You need to calm down.
Immediately went for the gun. I respect the enthusiasm, but chill.
Yeah.
Child.
Her heavy breathing dominating the audio feed. Subject takes a few minutes and announces that she's fine. Then proceeds as directed to walk the perimeter of the farmhouse. Children's bicycles, two, a boy and a girl's, lay against the house near the shelter doors. One of the doors to the shelter lay in the grass, torn from the entrance as evidenced by the splintering wood. On the stairs lay clothes arranged in descending order, shoes to shirt going down them belonging to a boy. Subject begins screaming at Control, asking if this is some sort of sick joke. Control assures her they have never seen this environment either, and to please calm down. Subject takes several minutes to regain herself before continuing. It is unknown if SCP-093 is linking the subject's past with her landscape. It is!
Let's do something.
Yes.
After several minutes, subject agrees to continue. Communication to subject is muted and conversation of Control making commentary about the subject's jittery attitude make up audio for 1.5 minutes. Rude.
Wow, just talking shit.
I know.
Who would do that?
The patriarchy, am I right? Like,
I mean, who would just comment on her actions and judge her harshly?
Yeah, this bitch.
Let's be fair. She only has an average physique. Who cares?
Right? Can you imagine if that's what they're saying? They're just like,
God, she's so average. Ugh.
The borderline between sub and average physique, all right? Most of that was deliberation.
Oh my god. I love you guys.
Thank you.
All right. Anyways. All right. Bitches love 093. It's me. I'm bitches. Okay.
Oh, we fucked up. Sorry, we misintroduced ourselves. I'm bitches, this is bitches, and this is bitches. I completely forgot the joke I was going to make at the very beginning.
That's right. Yes, I've been advertising all day. I'm like, listen, bitches love 093. It's us. We're bitches.
Yes, we are bitches.
Right. After several
Severed hand.
Severed paper, toilet paper. After several minutes, subject agrees to continue. Communication to subject is muted, and conversation of Control makes conversation about jury. Yes, communication is restored as subject reaches the bottom of the stairs. The cellar of the farmhouse is unremarkable and typical, just like her physique.
God damn!
Best fucking callback of this series.
Well done. I think that's the best joke we've had in any episode so far.
Oh god.
God damn it. Okay. Serious. Okay. Several wooden shelves line the God damn it. Several wooden shelves line the far wall containing unidentified canned substances. Broken light fixtures sway gently from support beams. Camera is panned across the basement slowly. No evidence of footprints are visible. God damn it. In the basement.
I'm a child. Anybody listening, I just moved off camera. I was just waving my hand on the screen. Okay.
Subject begins to comment about a stench. So we got that same stench.
Stank.
Oh, that stank. As subject pans the area, a metal hatch is visible in the ground, similar to a bulkhead on a submarine with a turn handle. Subject remarks that the smell is at its worst around the hatch, and the dirt around the hatch is noted to be clumped and clay-like. The handle of the hatch is old and ancient.
Sorry, clumped and clay-like, and immediately thought of just like her physique.
Please, Mars, we bullied this poor woman.
Imagine her like reporting back to command, and they're like, just like you. Go on. Just like,
this is why I have the gun, sir. Do you want to be shot?
We're gonna create HR just because of this article.
We should do a read on
See, these jokes are okay to make because I'm a woman, so.
Exactly.
That's why we have you on, so that we have the pass. No
We're
other
literally
reason.
the sexist, but we're only the sexist when there is a woman on board.
Now it's all coming together. Okay, well.
So is it better or worse that our sexism gets worse when the person that would actually be the one that we're sexist towards is present?
The answer is yes, of course.
It's fine. I work a lot of these types of jokes into my content anyway, and make light of a lot of just like, especially when you're thinking about how old this article is.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, I don't know. I digress. I think one can have healthy satirical jokes about these types of things.
Okay,
exactly.
Just to make sure we were being assholes.
No. I think when you truly respect something, you can actually be
mock it even better.
Effectively satirical about it, and so that's like some of my favorite stuff to make. So yeah. I mean, I made the joke first, actually.
True. I was gonna make the joke. Listen, Powercore, it's fine. I'm an empath. I can tell. Everything's fine.
Don't even finish that line of questioning.
I actually made a similar joke the other day on Twitter where I was like, I'm getting the feeling that SCP-682 hates people. I'm an empath.
I'm picking up on these feelings.
I don't know. I'm sensing. Like, anyways, yeah. No, we have the same sense of humor. We're all good.
I had a feeling this is about how we'd feel.
Because you're so canceled right now. Anyways.
As I've always said, fucking cancel me. Do it. All you'll do is give me power. I have no following, no viewership. All you'll do is give me power. Do it. Cancel me, bitches.
Yes.
Fuck, where even were we? I'm lost.
Right. Milk me for cloud. Every podcast host does. So yeah.
Moving forward.
So far with this test, we've seen that she has kind of arrived in a place that seems very reflective of what she's in for. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. All right. And we've got more of this strange smell and this weird brown substance that are places. Okay.
He's obviously on edge because of it too.
Yeah, and her physique. After some convincing, subject agrees to descend but does not close the hatch. Overlooked concerns about severing the pulley return system in doing so are acknowledged. Descent down the ladder and trip to the farmhouse has consumed approximately 53 meters of cable when the bottom is reached. The inside of the hatch appears to be a bunker ill-suited to long-term usage. It is spacious, about half the size of the actual cellar itself, containing 3 bunks, 1 for a couple and 2 for single use. Several boxes of food, similar to those found in the blue test marked as cereal, fill a waste container near the hatch bottom. On the beds are 2 skeletons, and on the floor is a third, lying next to which is a simple 6-shooter revolver containing no ammunition.
Can I just say this is a Fallout level right now? Because I feel like this is a Fallout location you just encountered.
Are you seeing all the different genres that they're covering with this? For sure.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Skeleton. All right. On the other side of this skeleton is a bound book in good condition. This is retrieved and placed into the field kit container upon request. The gun is left alone per request from control.
Did miss one thing. Skipped over. 3 spent casings are across the floor near the gun. Skip that one sentence.
Yes.
Big sentence too.
That was a big sentence. Yes. The gun became sentient and just shot these people for no reason.
It climbed out of its sealed case, loaded itself, and then crawled up to its poor owners and shot them. Hate it when it happens.
Yeah. Subject examines
as we know.
Subject examines more of the bunker, focusing on a desk where a newspaper has been cut and is in good condition. The clipped articles are recovered using a field kit container. Little else of interest is to be brought. Little else of interest to be brought back is in the bunker as the camera is panned around. Trash bags containing clothing, a few children's toys resembling popular 1950s era products are lined against the wall.
Oh yeah.
Subject is requested.
I'm sorry.
What? I was just excited about the toys. I was thinking about my Super Sentai action figures.
Okay.
Am I He-Man? Actually, wait, that's too late.
Well,
That's 80s.
the year is notable for sure.
Mm.
Trash bags containing clothing filled with 1950s era products are lined against the wall. Imagine they just have a bunch of like pop vinyls.
Ooh, these are worth money.
Steven Universe pop vinyl.
Damn it, this is the millennials room. Tortured.
The millennials and their avocado toast destroyed this mirrored event. Subject is requested to leave the bunker and then sharply asks to wait by a control technician who directs the camera view to an area near the exiting doorway to the hatch. Closer inspection as the subject moves in finds that a small area has been fitted with what appears to be an Ethernet jack, the cover of which has been forced slightly away from the wall by a strange amber-like substance. It's more that shit.
If your shit is strange and amber-like, you should probably see your doctor.
Please see your local foundation doctor.
Yeah. Subject refuses to touch or collect a sample. Good for her. Commenting that it stinks so bad that if they want it, they can come get it themselves. Good for her. Control declines, and subject leaves the bunker. Girl boss. Yes. As subject grips a ladder to leave, the camera pans up for a moment, and at the top of the tunnel, a humanoid figure is seen peering down. Control asks subject to confirm figure. Subject states nothing is up there and begins to climb. Figure draws out of camera view after first rung is touched by subject who ascends without incident. At the top of the tunnel, no other life is seen. Nothing has been disturbed. Subject insists nothing was there and closes the hatch, then immediately vomits.
Oof.
Good for her. Subject coughs and uses a supplied water bottle to gargle, then freezes and asks Control if it's hearing that. Control reports no audio. Subject approaches cellar hatch cautiously with firearm drawn, lifts it to her head just enough so camera can view outside the area. In the distance, approximately 700 meters from the farm, two massive humanoid beings are crawling across the landscape. The entities do not notice the subject, who remains quiet, but whose drawn sidearm is visibly trembling.
Nice day for a crawl, Bob.
Subject requested to remain still and silent as the beings move. They are featureless, facing at an angle moving across the field of vision, so the faces are only visible for a few moments. During this time, it is clear they have no facial features. Their arms they use to drag themselves are short and at times and long at others, stretching out to varying lengths each time they move. There's no real rear area to the beings. All bodily design appears to end at the torso.
No ass.
Just no.
You
ass.
cannot have relations with these beings.
The true dystopia of this universe is that there's just no bottom half.
God.
And that's just the worst.
It's like the question of the mermaid. Do you want a top half fish, bottom half person, or top half person, bottom half fish? You don't get to choose. You just get the top half. You just get a fish. It's just a fish.
It's just a fish head. Congratulations.
I thought this was like some woman's fantasy. No.
Well, I've known some pretty strange people in my life.
Okay, so that's right. We were talking about the tragedy of there being no bottom half. The two creatures take approximately 10 minutes to disappear into the distance before the subject begins to panic and begs to return.
This is a weird spot for it to change pages.
Right. Begs to return. Request is declined. Subject is instructed to enter the home from the cellar and not leave the home under any circumstances. Let's see. Am I still looking for one? I want to make sure. What's the first floor is entered through the hatch in the ceiling/floor that opens with rusty creaks that cause subject to pause for 37 seconds before continuing upward and entering a kitchen. A heavy layer of dust coats all items in the kitchen. The refrigerator is left open. All food is spoiled. Adjacent to the kitchen is a living area that subject enters slowly. There's a recliner, a couch, a television, all of 1950s style design.
Oh.
In the recliner is a laptop. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. 1950s style laptop.
Mhm.
Where, man, I got all excited.
It was the recliner.
Yeah. In the recliner is a laptop whose case also resembles 1950s decor and is covered in heavy dust. Opening the laptop reveals the last moments of its operating system, Faithful OS, leaving a standby mode and immediately shutting off. Laptop has no external power source and will not power back on. When asked to recover the laptop, it brings the cushion of the recliner with it, the two stuck together. Subject is advised to leave the laptop where it is. The inside door leaving the house is nailed shut with thick wood planks, and no attempt made to interact with these. Camera view pans to a staircase leading upstairs. Subject ascends the stairs without being asked, and the stairs remain silent to control surprise. When subject reaches the top of the stairs, a hallway with two doors is viewed, one on each side. At the end of the hall, a dumbwaiter, that's rude, is inlaid into the wall.
Well, you can't put a smart waiter into the wall, otherwise they get lippy and it's just annoying. Trust me, I've tried.
Also, not the rudest thing both the people within this article and we have said to anyone within this article.
Dumbwaiter had average physique.
No, the dumbwaiter got me thick, actually. That's why he's dumb.
Probably. It's not actually referring to their intelligence, it's referring to their thickness.
It's the only thing that's dummy thick in this universe.
Would you like a drink?
Yes, Subject opens door on her own, which opens to a master bedroom. The bed is neatly made, but the wardrobe next to it is thrown open, and clothes are everywhere on the floor. Subject finds laid out on the bed several pieces of jewelry and is informed to leave them. Subject begins to protest, then comments they stink, and leaves them alone, promptly leaving the room. Subject is asked to open the second door. The second door opens and gives a view of a shared child's bedroom. Obviously a boy and a girl, given the types of toys and clothes scattered on the floor.
Obviously, no kid could ever play with.
Right.
It's the 1950s force. No, it wouldn't have been allowed.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. A boy and girl. There's also a window, which subject approaches and wipes with a curtain to clear dust. Subject requested to move camera to window and does so. The farmland is visible, and approximately 40 kilometers from it, at best guess, a city. Ooh. As the camera starts to draw back, it pans down and films the area around the house. Approximately 300 figures similar to those from the footage captured during the blue test are visible around the home, all staring up. Subject asked to confirm the figures, but states nothing is there. Subject requested to return and quickly agrees. Egress from the house is uneventful. Pulley system shows no erratic behavior as subject returns to point of pulley wire's origin. A loud groaning noises causes the picture to reverberate. Technicians at control report they were also able to hear the noise and experience the vibration. Subject returns through the point of origin without investigation and mere returns to reflective surface. SCP-093 relinquished. Video ends. Newspaper fragments filed as redacted.
Before we go on to the next test, the Violet test, real quick, do either of you have ideas? I had an idea. I'll let you guys go first if you have ideas or thoughts.
Ladies first. Jacqueline, if you do.
Did I show you guys that these light up? They do.
Oh my god.
Anyways.
You have better accessories than I do, and I'm becoming increasingly jealous.
You gotta work on coding more.
Yes. Yes. The answer is yes.
So I did like, kind of mentioning a little, the tiniest bit of a genre shift that went here. We're experiencing, I really like the first test. The first test I resonate with probably the most strongly. I really like the blue test a lot, even though things do continue to get more interesting, because I love that horror.
The horror
creepy.
This was still very scary, but I think you feel a little bit less in danger and a little bit more like you're experiencing that, like you're seeing skeletons, you're seeing that people had to make difficult decisions in a post-apocalyptic atmosphere. And so I don't necessarily have, new ideas for how, this item could be utilized. But as far as just kind of seeing like genre-wise how this SCP translates, and I also really, really like that, we're seeing in this test the implications that she was transported somewhere that really hit home. So yeah, I guess I just like seeing the object used in a different kind of game genre setting. I like the idea of it being kind of Fallout, and I like that we're starting to see, speaking of Fallout, which is kind of the 1950s type of, sort of thing, and we're going to see more and more like weird slogans and stuff popping up. So yeah,
and that's something that I want to clarify, because I didn't clarify. I had to clarify this with Darnell and Tanhoney as well. The ideas you have don't necessarily have to be explicitly tied to the object. It could be completely unrelated if it's just something that pops into your head. Doesn't have to have any connection to anything. That's the whole purpose, the whole point of this. Mine is vaguely related, but it's because of a joke that one of us made.
God, all of mine are based on the jokes we made too. Okay, we riffed on this one so hard.
What are your ideas, then, Power Gore?
One of them was, let's see if I can remember. There was kind of a mean-spirited one about the average physiques. I have to try to remember.
I'm sorry, that's really funny.
They were really good.
It was a good joke.
One that leaked out to me was the laptop having an OS called Faithful OS, and it made me think, if you were given like a computer from, let's say, just a different humanity or a very strange esoteric computer, you could have probably a whole game just diving into that. So you end up with like techno paladins. They actually worship through the computer, so you have to be able to decode it and decipher how to use this operating system, and that's how you can enact prayers, how you can learn more about their religion, how you can outright summon demons, etc. Like Cyberpunk naming their little their hacks demons. Only this time, no, actually activating that program and running it will summon a demon.
So like an actual literal like God operating system.
Yes.
Like faith-based operating system.
Oh my God, the supercomputer, and you can hack into it.
Oh, your Church of the Broken God is showing.
Yes. Yes.
The shiny what's it called? Fuck, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Help me? Floppy disk?
No, flawed.
I actually have.
You would have no idea. This is something that it was. It's basically the like unique god medal, the Fulad, something like that for the Church of the Broken God, for the Mechanites specifically.
I'm a Sarkic simp, so I'm still catching up with all of that.
I've been getting into Mechanites more and more lately because I have a player who don't know who that might be, who's been getting into like that aspect of stuff, and so I've been pulling from that more and more to inspire ideas for them. So that and exploring SCP did a thing recently on the city of Amoni Ra.
Yeah. I might be doing some voice acting for the author of that sometime soon. We might be actually performing that entire article as Rounder House wanted it performed, and so that's super exciting. So yes, I do know what you're talking about.
It is exciting. Fulad, I believe it is called in that system. Anyway, or in that story. My idea was based around the joke somebody had about the gun coming to life and shooting its owners.
That was my other idea, but yeah, continue. You just jogged me.
In this case, I'm talking about a cursed weapon that becomes sentient and animate at night when it's not being utilized and attempts to assassinate its owners or somehow like sabotage them. And so the players keep waking up after each day with weird things have happened, like somebody's cut open our bag and spilt our rations all over the floor, shit like that.
I like the idea of items that you think are protecting you working against you. That's really interesting.
I love the idea of betrayal in general. I don't have a obsession.
Drama. Yep, totally not. It's just good drama. Another one is, let's say, some form of weapon mancer or gun mancer. He can exert his absolute influence only on something classified as a weapon. So for your pistol, if he dies, his consciousness will go into that pistol, and he will cause it to unlock itself from the safe load itself, and waddle over to assassinate you. He's not been caught since because he's always in the murder weapon.
I am 100% making this an NPC.
It works.
just animate weapon that's like waddling along. You just find a weapon laying in the road. I guess we'll take it.
So I'll just continue to just make jokes and go on tangents because apparently that's the best content for you guys.
Yes, that is just what we do every week.
Pretty much. That is the existence of our podcast. I like to say this is a casual design banter with friends. That's the idea. We read interesting stuff and then we design interesting stuff based on that. And
So yeah, I know for me, after I'd first kind of, gone over this test, biggest takeaways where it's like, okay, there's more than one of these gigantic
Marshmallow men
just crawling around. There's lots of this foul-smelling, dried brown substance everywhere. And the 1950s, aesthetic, but also slightly advanced technology. And we had the first mention of the faithful, type of thing. So it's like, okay, what happened here?
Do you mind if I take you on a massive sidetrack that's still technically related?
Not at all.
Okay. Have you ever heard of something called Temple OS? Mirror test 3, color violet. Subject is It could be purple, royal purple. Good things can come from purple. D-84930, male, 21 years of age, average physique. Oh no, it's
just like the last girl.
Subject's background shows instance of second-degree murder of a police officer during a drug bust. This is not me. I removed that previous sentence. Normally, this crime, while severe, would not qualify a person for the sentence that would end up with us. But the murder of the officer was especially brutal, and excessive violence was used. This subject was uncooperative, and had to be reminded that his cooperation would only benefit him. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-093, which emitted a violet color. Outside technicians observed the mirror retained a true reflection until the subject had completely passed through it, at which time it changed into a cityscape, urban, lightly tinted in purple, similar to the first test. Video feed shows the attached media. Camera flickers to life and pans around the area. Subject is in what appears to be a modern downtown district, similar to a city like New York. I believe if Darnell was here, he would have had a very long rant about a similar city being similar to New York, probably just being New York.
Let's be honest, if Darnell were here, he would have already been ranting about the length. I know this because I remember them reading it, and he was about halfway through the first one ranting about the length and the writing and stuff. It's fine.
It's fine though. The streets are mostly bare, except for a few cars of unknown make or model. These cars look highly advanced and streamlined. Subject attempts to look into the car windows without being instructed to, but backs away, remarking there is a rank-ass stank coming from the areas around most of them. I get the feeling this man's an urbanite. Just a guess. Just a little bit.
Stank, yo.
I mean, I can make the lady jokes in the last one. I
know. I'm glad I get to start this one off.
This is actually also the reason I bring Power Core on, is just so we can make those types of jokes.
Just seeing what we can get away with. We're like, hey.
I gave Force a forged N-word pass. I'm waiting for him to try to use it. So that
I'm never using that live. I will relegate that to just during Stargate watch parties. We're fine.
Subject is persuaded to move. Wait, I already read that one. Shit. Subject argues with control over the issue and pans the camera across the dashboard, pointing out he couldn't drive away even if he tried. The dashboard is void of any recognizable controls. No ignition, no steering. It has several small blank screens that are theorized to be a GPS system. Subject remains in the car while Control discusses how to proceed, since the city landscape is far larger than previous test destinations. Control debates the issue while the subject stares around the cityscape from the car. During one pan, a face is clearly seen staring into the car, eyes watching the subject. However, this was not noticed until post-test footage review. Subject made no comment regarding the entity at any point. Control, shortly after, informs the subject to remain where he is, and an escort team is dispatched through the mirror to join him. Oh, a team this time. A team of 4 armed personnel. I know. A team of 4 armed personnel, kid, is sent through the mirror and proceeds to the subject's location. Subject is then instructed to remove his harness, which is recovered. This subject's video feed then ends and is replaced by a wireless unit used by the escort team. The video quality of this unit is subject to more interference, but in order to mark the mirror exit, a receiver system is placed through the mirror. That was like verbiage weird, but that was on my end. Subject leaves the car and now travels with the escort team. Given the myriad of possible options, they are instructed to simply move to the closest building and attempt to enter it. This building has etched glass doors bearing the name XEA. There
we go. He got it. He got it.
I was reading it right, but for some reason I kept saying the E. I'm like, I'm saying X, right? No, I'm not saying X.
It reminds me of a TikTok I saw where they were trying to record he was pretending to record a video or record a music video or like a lyrics for a song, and he would keep saying like going in between 2 parts. You'd add like a like noise, and the other version was like, no, we just need you to do like one singular clean take, and he's like, that's what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
No, we need you to just all together, just like this. No, just one clean take, nothing in, just in case. And he's like, okay, let me try again. See, I can't. I'm doing it. I'm doing what you're telling me, but I find it physically painful not to.
I will say I only just now full screened our video chat. This entire time Lisa from PT has just been hovering in our group chat. And I suddenly was like, I have the option to not see this right now if I didn't want to. And I finally did. Available. Also, I did think that it was funny as we've been going over these average physiques, and I mentioned that the blue test is my favorite, that was the only person thus far who's described with a strong physique.
Oh my god, you're right.
And now I'm realizing that I'm just a really shallow bitch.
Yes.
It's entirely their physique.
Yes.
Look, I can't blame you. I like people with
big butts,
elegant physique. I guess that petite physique is what I would say. There we go.
Shall we return to a bit of a genre shift, wouldn't you say, in this exploration we have going on?
Indeed. Here? So far we're playing Grand Theft Auto, but no one's on the server.
Oh god. You're right, though.
We're going to see how it progresses from here. You might even get to GTA Racing. A magnetic lock system is present, but has lost power. Team enters the building and main lobby. This area resembles a stereotypical corporate lobby. There is a C-shaped reception desk with a chair pushed far from it as if it was left in a hurry. A PC terminal is at the desk as well. The team approaches the desk, and the camera bearer is instructed to examine the PC. The unit does not appear to have power, and Faithful OS appears on the screen, requesting a login and password.
It does appear
it appears it does have power. Yeah, because how else would Faithful OS appear on the screen?
With faith.
True, just power by the God Emperor's
technicians.
The power
of faith.
OS, trademark. A keyboard is present, but is remarkably slim, with touch-sensitive keys rather than press-down keys. After a failed attempt, the lock screen replies that the maximum attempts have been exceeded, and the PC turns off. RIP, you failed your hacking minigame. No actual tower or power button can be located, so the team moves forward. Behind the receptionist desk, there are 2 elevator doors, one to the left and one to the right, with similar touch-sensitive keys. The elevator on the left is broken, the door wide open, and the shaft empty. The elevator on the right appears functional and has power. Without a clear destination, the team is instructed to proceed to the highest floor and get a lay of the city. All the floors appear to be accessible, with the highest being 114th. In reality, 112 as 13th and 113 are missing from the keypad. In reality, 112 as 13 and 13 are missing from the keypad.
In reality, it's 112 floors, not 114 floors, because 2 floors are missing, 13 and 113.
Okay. Thank you. Journey up the elevator is uneventful during this time. The elevator does appear to take longer as it passes by 13 and then 113, suggesting that entire floor was built and nothing put upon it. At 114, the doors open and the team enters a large lounge-type area. There are many couches with dust on them. A widescreen TV, apparently LCD TV, of approximately 60-plus inches in size dominates the wall in front of them with no power, as the series of windows are open, allowing in sunlight at the far end, to which the team proceeds and then angles the camera outside. My reading ability I have used on my reading tokens. Who would like to be popcorn next?
Where did you stop? The
view of the city
angles the
is
camera
astonishing.
outside. View of the city is okay. There we go. The view of the city is astonishing. This building is one of the tallest visible, but certainly not alone in its stature. The city below is gray and silent. No evidence of life at this altitude. Some buildings in the city have a strange brown growth that appears to have been splashed against them, as if a gelatinous mass was flung and then seeped down before hardening. Other buildings have floors where the glass has been shattered and the same brown substance is seeping out the edges. One member of the team calls the camera bearer to the windows on the other side. This reminds me of there's a game I'm thinking of where you play as like a biological mutant entity. I can't remember what this. Somebody find this game for me because this is such a good
Describe it. We need more to go on because I'm thinking like Evolve, but
no, it's basically the you were infected, sort of Resident Evil style, infected with some sort of weird biochemical agent that turns you into this sort of mutant entity. But this agent also gets out into the city and starts mutating other people. You happen to like react to it best, and you gain the ability to like metamorph your arms into weird like cellulite structures and shit like that. Prototype, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was just like, I could feel
to
like
be fair,
it was on the tip of my
also
tongue.
directly applies to this.
But anyways, that reminds me of Prototype. Some of the like views you'd get from like large buildings of Prototype and like infected zones of just like infected material splashed against the buildings and shit like that.
Beautiful urban destruction.
Pretty much. From the other side of the building, the city edges can be seen. Attention is pointed toward an expressway that encircles the city, upon which crawls another of the large half-body humanoids, driving itself with its elastic arms, as witnessed in previous tests. Just chilling, dragging itself with elastic arms. It travels the highway, then moves out of sight. The team returns to the elevator and notes that a button has already been activated for floor 74. No one has approached the elevator, so the team agrees to travel to this floor. On the 74th floor, the doors open and reveal a waiting area to what appears to be a doctor's office. At the reception desk, there is a sign-in sheet with a series of names and dates. The dates on the sign-in sheet all carry the year 1953. A PC at the receptionist area is on and functioning at a user desktop. The background for the PC is a large set of praying hands with the word Faithful OS under them. On the desktop are a series of folders with years on them containing files that, when clicked, using the center button of the mouse, open to a Word viewer. All files appear to be appointment information. On the desk is a notepad titled, From the Desk of Dr. Borisiski, Blessed Purificationist. The door to the doctor's area is sketched with the same name and title as well as a crucifix. Opening this door leads to a white, dust-free hallway that has 2 examination rooms and a key-coded door at the end. The examination rooms are unremarkable and typical of any doctor's office. All medicine cabinets are empty. A small amount of C4 is placed at the lock to the key-coded door at the request of Control and then blown, forcing the door open.
Damn, I opened a locked door, right?
I know.
This is the GTA level, just like, yes, the doctor's office door is locked.
Blow it.
Boom.
We're doing a heist.
Starting to feel a little bit Rainbow Six too when I think of like a full tactical squad in here exploring this area. Honestly, this is like I think it's my favorite described setting so far.
It fits like the idea of like a Rainbow Six moment of like there's just actual tactical officers and that one weirdo who's just there. I'm actually a criminal who's being forced to be here.
Hi, bandit.
The area it opens into is much larger than the reception area itself and seems to contain a series of large containment capsules. There are a total of 6 of these capsules. 2 are broken, and a brownish amber material coats the floor coming from them. 1 is empty. The last 3 have nude humans floating in them with breathing masks. Attached to the front of these tubes are medical charts showing vital signs and conditions. For symptoms, the charts explain in somewhat awkward English, ailments that seem more like flaws of personality or character, or just incidents that have occurred with the patient. Control asks for a zoom in on one of the patient's pages on the chart. After focusing, it reads, Citizen Jennifer McZerka did suffer a lapse of the heart that did lead her to lay with her neighbor twice upon nights of her husband's departure from their home. Patient did submit herself into the Lord's and our hands for cleansing of mind and body. Prayer administered by High Father Ualakin, and patient submitted to a 3-day period in the Lord's tears to cleanse her system, then released in good spirits. Ualakin has the high ground.
God damn it. I have an idea, but yes, keep going.
Write it down.
Going places, huh?
Good point.
The topmost page reads, Citizen Alberius Faravin struck out at High Father during a sermon, blaspheming that the Lord's tears did churn his daughter to be unright in mind and heart, thusly laying blame for her whorish activities at the feet of the High Father and his blessing. With no proof of these blasphemies, the forgiving judge and the punishing judge did agree that Alberius Faravin should bathe in the Lord's tears himself for a week to be cleansed of mind and soul, thus to prove his daughter's ways are fault of not the father's hands, and to give him peace of self. A subject who has been traveling quietly with the escort team now begins to panic. The camera pans to focus on him, and he is surrounded by entities similar to those witnessed in the first 2 tests. Escort team reports in that subject is having a panic attack, but control requests him to stand still and wait. Subject screams at the entities, which are denied to exist by team commander. Stating subject is alone in the corner. Control requests that one team member be dispatched to approach and recover the subject. The escort team member approaches the subject as ordered. On the video, the figures part to make a pathway for the approaching member, who lifts the subject to his feet and brings him out of the corner. Figures on the video are then seen closing ranks to close the path. The subject is lifted to his feet by an arm and escorted through the figures that close the ranks when the subject is moved. They remain steadfastly staring at the subject, no matter where he moves to. Control requests the team to return now. The team returns to leave. Before leaving, a team member mentions something noticed at the reception desk, a binder labeled The Lord's Tears. Control requests the binder be returned as well, and it is stowed in subject's field kit. Okay. The team returns to the elevator and returns to the ground floor. Upon leaving the building, the subject points down the street toward the direction of the entry point. The camera pans to a section of raised expressway, across which one of the large torsos is crawling slowly. The entity turns its featureless head to look at the escort team, raises its head to the sky, and emits a bellowing sound. The team leader issues the order to move, heading for the spot marked by the wireless video receiver. The creature on the expressway extends an arm down that stretches to touch the ground before the camera moves to the port. All team members, save one, move through the entry point. Subject moves to the entry point, and mirror returns to reflective surface. SCP-093 is dropped by the subject, who panics and tries to fight his way out of the room. The subject is terminated by team leader after he draws the field kit pistol.
Damn.
Team leader requests portal be reopened, but it takes several minutes to find someone who can hold SCP-093 and generate a similar color. When a matching color is displayed and applied to the mirror, the video receiver is visible, and all individuals report a horrific smell. Team leader moves to the entryway with control person blank. The uniform and possessions of the escort team member who was left behind are present and recovered, but the member himself is nowhere to be seen and does not respond to shouts. The member is assumed KIA, and the wireless receiver is recovered. Control and the escort return through entry point, and the mirror returns to reflective surface. Later review of the recovered camera shows escort member blank grasping at the air where the entry point should be, and then turning to look up at the oversized torso. A brown gel seems to drip off the creature as it moves, then disappears shortly after being dislodged as if evaporating. Several shots are fired at the creature's face with the automatic weapon carried by Blank that land in the face of the creature, causing a spray of less viscous brown liquid to pour forth from the wounds.
The
Blank.
shit!
Oh god, it literally bleeds sewage. Or poo, depending on your implication.
You caught me so off guard there. I thought you were exclaiming about the disgust of it. I'm like, wait, what? Brain? Word?
Yeah.
English?
This article is the shit, but also, it's the brown viscous fluid. Makes up the marshmallow men. It's the marshmallow men.
They
always
bleed.
the marshmallow men.
It's marshmallow men all the way down.
Blank screams obscenities as the face of the creature descends upon him and the camera is pushed to the ground. The camera feed remains dark for approximately 65 seconds before light comes back and the camera films the creature crawling back to the expressway and pulling itself onto it, then crawling in the direction it was originally headed. Blank believed to have been absorbed by the creature and perhaps digested. This may have been an example of how these unknown entities feed by direct contact with living material. Further study is recommended to be avoided on this issue. Returned ledger filed as Blank.
I do want to let both of you know, and anyone listening who hasn't had the opportunity to look at this article on the wiki, every single one of these documents or binders that are recovered, you can read them. They are actually on the wiki. It's not just redacted. So like context and these ledgers and more hints about things. I mean, you get the idea from the article itself what's going on here. I think, especially as it continues, but yeah, like this is a full blown just like mystery. So I'm really interested to hear what, especially since this was your favorite up to this point, or what do you think? What are your ideas about this?
So far, from what I can glean, is something apocalyptic happened because using this Temple OS to do some form of like personality correction led to either the marshmallow people being created, people turning into that, and it ending the world. So there was definitely like a very strong religious presence in this world. And since it was like the 1950s, they had way more advanced tech than they should for the time. And that propelled them to trying to like correct members of society, and is seemingly horrifically backfiring. But I really like how it's going. I really like the idea too of being able to program in or out mental illnesses or traits for people. So imagine you could program your personality. How badly could that go, or how good could it go?
And there's a game idea right there.
Yeah, and I honestly hadn't thought about this until I was talking with you guys about how each one of these really does, if you think about it from like a game setting, really it suits it so well in that way.
Yep.
Yeah, I love seeing kind of this mystery kind of unfolding here. And I will say, what I really liked about this entry is it kind of causes you to harken back to the original description of this object, where they're saying that, okay, it seems to resonate with people who are experiencing regret over something, or people who experience a lack of regret of something. Now, why do we have this individual who is the first person that we've come across who committed a brutal sociopathic, murder, who's able to see these entities without a camera? I always thought that was pretty interesting as well, where I'm like, okay, like what is like so stagnant in the air of this like deceased realm that is just so like filled with just guilt and everything going wrong. Like I love that it's never 100% fully explained, but I really like the implications a little bit about how this like realm kind of functions for different people.
It's not even like explicitly said that he can see them either, but he definitely knows they're there somehow and is reacting to them.
Yeah, he's our first person who like becomes more aware, like, and they're looking at him and they're like watching him,
and they're the first ones like, actively. Like others observe.
It's just creepy as fuck. I love it.
Yeah, and because he seemed to have like the most brutal of the crimes, he was sent to a purple world where they still had a functioning system. The others I think the blue guy didn't even come across a functioning Temple OS computer, but in the green realm they did, and the purple realm they found like the active test tube.
Yep.
It's like a functioning system.
Yep. And they found a binder about the Lord's Tears and descriptions of the Lord's Tears thing, which is a whole thing.
We definitely have, I think in the order the tests take place, it's the author's decision to kind of present things in these order, and it even recommends that you read them in this order, because obviously you're learning more about the society as it progresses, but it does make you look back and go like, why did that person appear here versus another thing? And so yeah, but I love the whole GTA server when nobody's online.
It's a when you look at it, it is a squad shooter, because it's people moving together, staying in a group, exploring a thing, breaking into areas to find details.
Well, and I like with this test that they terminated the D class, and suddenly they couldn't get out again until they found a member of the squad who had the same color. I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Funny that there is a member of the squad with the same color too.
I have concerns about violent people.
Yep. And it wasn't even of the squad, because they said it took them a while. They had to go find somebody else who wasn't even there and who had that color. Some ideas I had. This is a really funny one, because the image came to me when we were talking about the four-armed personnel. And for some reason, my ADHD brain went 4 arms, 4 arms, and then person L, and so I just thought of like the letter L with 4 arms and like firearms, and so now I've just got this image of like NPCs. And then as I was thinking about it just a second ago, I was like, alphabet people. We just need an entire tribe of people. Each one is the different letter of the alphabet. They're just animated alphabet letters with different weapons and 4 arms.
Consonants versus vowels.
Because I'm familiar with the article, when I read four-armed personnel, I knew what it meant. But then my ADHD brain, when you said four-armed people, I was like, there are 4-armed people?
I knew exactly what it meant too, but my brain immediately went, yes, there are 4 people who are armed, but also 4 armed people.
Okay, if you have 4 arms, you could hold 2 armaments, alright? It's just more arms equals more good.
I like it. His character has recently developed the ability to like temporarily grow a pair of metallic arms.
Extra attack action.
And they give him an extra like attack. And so, yeah, I like he describes it, but like he'll take his shots and then toss it up to the arms, which catch it and take a shot.
I'm just saying that if you were a Sarkic, you could just grow those forearms all on your own.
I prefer the metallic ascent.
And you wouldn't even need to stop at 4 arms. Who says 4 arms is where you could go up to 100?
You don't even have to be. They don't even have to be people arms. You can just like grow horse legs. I'm serious.
I can actually duplicate another set of legs.
You can actually grow horse legs as well. Yeah.
That's part of it.
The other thing I had, which is a little bit less memey, but the other idea I had was a faction, a church of some type, which literally trademarks the concept of faith and can detect faith in people. And so if they haven't paid dues,
royalties, motherfucker,
they fine them for like believing in something without having their proper dues and paperwork for being.
Wait, you need to pay the faith
officially
tax.
associated with the church.
Literally,
your faith tax. Just following that dystopian concept.
Yeah, but we're definitely sensing a religious based apocalyptic event, and yes, this concept of seeing human bodies floating in a substance that's being called the Lord's Tears is something. So yeah, it's
something. All right. Do you have any particular one-off ideas, Jackie, that were inspired?
Gosh, I definitely I love thinking about it's difficult because I definitely feel like I've touched on the ideas that this resonates with me, and I will say that like games like GTA aren't exactly my genre.
Same, but
so but I still liked that that was kind of this reminds me of this type of thing. But yeah, I definitely I
I
just
think it's
really
going to be the
like.
title of the episode, by the way, GTA, but the servers are down and we all have an average physique.
I love it. I'm gonna rewrite the rewrite of this article. And
It's GTA, but the servers are offline. It's okay if you don't have anything for this particular one. Just reach out for what comes to you.
Yeah, I don't have anything I would say for this particular one, but I will say that this kind of just continues to show that I really like the option to find like in the doctor's office. I like having the option to if you want to know more about the story, like the books are right there. I love that in games. I love that in storytelling, where if you really want to know more, it's right there.
Environmental storytelling is...
Yeah, that really unsettling feeling of show don't tell. And I think that is something that this article does fantastically. Because again, I said you can't actually go and read, these documents, but even as you're reading it at face value, you're like, this was the most action-packed one we've had so far, but that feeling of unease is still just like
there.
That tension is rising. So yeah, as far as like an idea for like a game goes that resonates with me, I love the open book that's there where you're like, okay, I recognize that from earlier. I recognize that. Okay, it's that operating system again. So yeah. More of that just like clickable item type of stuff, I guess, is what just pops in my brain.
Yeah, I get you.
So like I do my own YouTube videos and I edit them out. There's a game called Dismantled, which is like this post-apocalyptic, weird magic zombie apocalypse type scenario. It's a fun game. It's very much just like a bash everything, harvest resources, build better gear, and keep going and going and going and going until literally the concept is that one of the perks or the like lines of it is that you can tear down the entire world. You can literally break anything in the game. You can break and get materials from if you can get a strong enough tool to do it. But as I was breaking down in one episode, I was breaking down a.
Oh no, you're having to break down
a building. Yeah, I'm always having a breakdown. That's my secret.
Always having a breakdown.
But I was breaking like a bathroom. And I don't put most of the breaking on screen. I just like cut to my character occasionally breaking an object randomly, which I think is a fun little like cut between. But there was a bathtub, and in it there was a skeleton holding a radio.
It's also giving me like PT vibes.
Yeah, and I like stopped after I like broke the radio and like actually like switched over to my face because I was like, wow, that was kind of grim to find. As a person with a radio, an electric radio, in a bathtub, a skeleton. Yikes! There's nothing telling you what that is. But
yeah, I have a question. Was the radio playing this noise?
Oh god!
I need you to listen very carefully. Was this audible on the radio?
I can hear the clown scream.
I can hear it too.
I demand a reaction from my dudes.
That's a wonderful idea. That's a wonderful idea.
I feel the urge to play the trumpet suddenly.
But yes,
we could go on. Actually, I can't.
Phantom is a fantastic SCP author who had been has invited me to read one of her most recent works, and I sent her the links that I was like, I'm doing this right now. So look at my impact, guys. We got
reach.
We got a prolific SCP bunny girl to come over here, and I got more.
Well, hey. Okay, brain. Moving on. Yellow test.
Yeah.
Oh wait, one more thing before the brain moves on.
Go on. We have like
imperfect resurrection. Imagine you can't create your own body, or even create your own body. You have to use someone else's. So just implant your memories into that vessel. And that way, hey, you kind of roll. They try to select for a vessel close enough to you, so you kind of remain the same, but you're never really the same.
I actually had an entire video game conceit built around this idea for like a roguelite, where you are a sort of like broken soul, and when you die, whenever what body you're in dies, you can go and inhabit another living creature who's willing to allow you to inhabit them, essentially. And so you have creatures who or depending on your morality, you can choose not to do that. You can just take whoever the fuck you want. But the premise is that each person has like a unique skill, and then by using that body until your soul has mastered that skill, you can lock those skills into your soul. So when that body dies, you can pick it to also have in the next body, and then again and again and again with like little bits of like you stack up the skill, and then you go to a new body within the same skill, and you like start scaling up the next level. So that's how you kind of level it. Is you're limited in each body, so you're kind of intended to die.
If we want to continue to segue, I did just think of there's a whole game premise there where let's say
that's what I said. That is the whole. That is. I have a whole game premise built around that.
This is going to give you guys so many ideas. I'm so happy right now.
I'm mining.
I was like, it's got it all. It's got it all. But
the content or vein. Thank you for the content, for bringing this to us, Jackie, and for once again, Neko Cat
for this content, which we are enjoying.
Neko Cat for the Neko Chris for this content.
I'll Neko Chris. There you go. Yeah.
Chris Cat Chris Neko Chris.
I had and again because I hadn't really considered how through the lens of this being a game. I hadn't quite thought about that, and I have actually, I will say, really been looking forward to this next test because I had never considered it through that lens. I wonder what
I'm curious.
You guys will kind of see it translating as, because I have some ideas about what this definitely translates to a bit as far as.
Ooh, all right. Why don't you go ahead and read, because I just finished that one and
I was going to say, yes, of course. Yes.
All right.
Okay. So, we have a big change starting this one out. The yellow test. Okay. D-class subjects no longer authorized for testing.
Oh, no more average physique people?
No more average. I wonder if they even describe this
they
doctor's
don't.
physique. Now I'm like, they don't.
He has a very educated physique.
I already went to this one. I already went to this one and read and searched for the word physique to see if they did, see if it stayed average the rest of the way through. They don't describe it anymore.
I'll never view this article the same. It's so funny. I now know why the blue test is my favorite. I'm so shocked. All right. So the yellow test. D-class subjects are no longer authorized for testing. Testing focus has been shifted to data collection. After analyzing the articles brought back from the previous 3 tests to better understand the fate of the world accessed by 093, to determine if safeguards or practices are required for our own world. Analysis of the brown fluid on the clothing of the lost escort team member, redacted, has been filed with other recovered articles. Dr. Blank has volunteered for this test. As out of the possible candidates, he was able to cause SCP-093 to undergo a new color change. There is no evidence in Dr. Blank's background of any illegal or criminal behavior, nor of any psychological problems. When presented to the mirror, the view changed to that of a cubicle office environment. For this test...
Oh, I forgot how fucking cocky this doctor is.
For this test, Dr. Blank opted to use the wireless video system and forego the pulley return system, stating he was confident he would be safe, as none of the torso creatures have been witnessed within a building where the mirror's destination showed.
Jesus, he's supposed to be a doctor. That is such a bad precautionary measure.
Yeah,
hey.
I mean...
look.
I'm sure he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. If he doesn't, then he was never meant to be a doctor for the long run anyways, and he's one way to fire a doctor.
If you're
this way, I'm sorry.
If you're already nervous, you should be. All right. So, as with prior tests, SCP-093's current color yellow tinges all video material. Camera flickers to life and pans across a series of plain white cubicle constructs. Approximately 30 are visible. At the far end from the point of entry You all right, guys?
I just had an idea immediately.
That was fast.
Yes. That's what she said.
I've never heard that.
At the far end, from the pointed entry, is an office module built into the wall with frosted glass walls and a glass door. Dr. Blank approaches this door and investigates the etched writing on it. Senior Manager Stanley Millimitz. The door is unlocked. Dr. Blank enters the office and examines the desk. A coffee cup is on the desk, a dark brown stain covering half of the insides as the liquid evaporated. There is a donut on the plate, which Dr. Blank picks up and lobs at the wall. On impact, it thumps like a rock and falls. A file cabinet in the corner of the room draws Dr. Blank's attention as he goes through each shelf one at a time.
A scientific mind at work here, picking up a donut, flinging it, and then just going through random shit.
First instinct is just, fuck this donut. Please.
I'm so reminded of just like things like, I don't know, just, what is it? Is it the Stanley Parable where you're in like
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's very much what I was thinking of too.
That's why I love the tone shift in this one, where it just keeps you so engaged, where it's just like, yeah, he can do whatever he wants. He's not having to be instructed by
doctor,
people.
bitch.
Yeah. But yes, let's see. Throws a thumbs up. Okay. File cabinet in the corner of the room draws Dr. Blank's attention as he goes through each shelf one at a time, stopping in the second drawer and taking out a file, then going back to the first and taking out two others. Continuing to the third and fourth drawers, he withdraws 4 additional files and spreads them out, all on the desk. The files are blue filing folders, and he points with his finger and the camera at a symbol on each of praying hands, stating aloud for the camera that all other files are stored in yellow folders. The blue folders are placed in his field kit.
So should we not get some of the yellow folders as well, so we can compare to
contrast?
Sir?
I like this one because he's just kind of, I like that he states things out loud for the camera that normally they would prompt the D class to say, you know, where he just kind of like knows.
These are a different color. My God, yes, Doctor.
My God. Yes. Yeah, brilliant.
Doctor.
Off clap.
Camera attention is turned to the PC on the desk that is logged in and functional. Dr. Blank comments aloud, wondering where these devices are getting their power from, as he has noticed no power outlets. The PC's desktop contains the logo of Faithful OS, and even has sounds, clicks of the mouse followed by a soft hymn-like hums. That's fun to say. Him like hums. And
every time you click the mouse, just
it's just in your ear, yeah.
They're gonna annoying as shit real quick.
ASMR mouse.
Right. And opening of icons followed by angelic bells. The PC fails to yield any useful information to Dr. Blank, who abandons it and leaves the office. Approaching the other end of the office, Dr. Blank presses a button.
Not that button. So suddenly now the urge to pee more than I did before.
I'm an SCP author. I have to plug my article at any time, which is SCP-6863. Everyone,
go check it out. Our podcast on it.
There you go. Yes.
Quick, press the button since we've given them the idea to go read it.
Several times. Make it until they can't.
Let's go, bubbling bits of your bitch brain, coating all the cute cracks, Dr. Taylor.
That's a cool.
All right.
Quoting articles? Moving on.
Yes. Approaching the other end of the office floor, Dr. Blank presses a button on the wall for the elevator and enters, finding he's on the 34th floor of a building, having an unusual number scheme. The keypad layout goes from -115 to 115 to include all floors. Before pressing a floor button, Dr. Blank requests that the wireless video transponder be moved to the elevator and replaced with a construction cone to mark the entry point. A second transponder unit is placed outside the elevator, and the control is instructed to recover the second unit and seal the test chamber should something happen to him. Then, when all is arranged, he presses the button for floor negative 115.
All right, so I mean, there's a little bit of preparation there of like, okay, something might happen, so make sure you guys have sealed it up just in case. You know, I can't get back.
Yeah.
All right.
And
I
upside of using the wireless one.
Can I popcorn this to one of you guys after
Sure.
this one?
Sure.
Yeah. There's it is interesting to see somebody who kind of knows like what type of feedback that everybody at Control is going to want to be looking for. And so yeah, I like when he thinks of these things. It's interesting. But yeah, he's on the 30 something floor, and it goes down to 100. Wow. Okay.
Negative 115.
This can only go well. All right, popcorn.
You want to take over power
We do it? Sure. Which
the descent down the elevator.
Yeah. The descent down the elevator is long, consuming 15 minutes. During this time, the camera experiences one malfunction where the image jerks and turns to snow, resorting to show 14 other figures in the elevator, with Dr. Redacted, as video pans around, all of whom move as he moves to allow him space. They remain for 35 seconds, then the camera flickers to snow, flickers to snow and returns. Dr. Redacted is now alone, in the elevator, dancing as if assumed by the ducks and sways of the video.
That is bad. It's literally me. It's like, dun, 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 dun.
I'm probably gonna die. Might as well go out dancing. You know, I like this guy.
Go fancy. Dr. Redacted pauses to comment on a rising stench coming from below. At this point, the elevator has reached floor negative 108. Dr. Redacted presses negative 110 to interrupt the descent down and exits when the floor is reached. The elevator doors open to an enclosed observation deck with several PCs and chairs. All PCs appear to have power. The ceiling to this deck is also glass, and above it there is another deck visible to Dr. Redacted. Oh no, there's another deck visible. Dr. Redacted approaches the monitoring stations and checks one of the PC screens. On the screen is Faithful OS, the Faithful OS logo, and a video feed toggling between 4 different views. The first view is a room of tubes similar to those found in Test Violet, which number in the thousands. The second view is a closer up view of these tubes, as the camera glides in front of each monitor the content. As a camera glides in front of each to monitor the content,
there we go.
One word makes all the difference.
We got this.
All tubes the camera passes by are broken. The third view is facing the opposite direction as the camera glides vertically, checking each observation station. A total of 10 can be counted, and Dr. Redacted is visible as the camera passes by his own station. Looking up, a hovering camera unit with no visible means of propulsion glides up past him. The fourth view shows the ground floor, below the observation deck, where a single astonishingly large torso is crawling in circles, bumping into walls and changing directions. From the camera feed, the creature's estimated size is 6 stories. And at this moment, Dr. Redacted knew he fucked up.
Right.
Well, actually, he made a very smart choice. He got off being like, maybe I shouldn't go all the way to the bottom. They got off before walking into the area that creatures.
He only half fucked up, assuming that they couldn't be in this building.
Yeah, fucked up, yes.
Returning attention to the contents of the PC, Dr. Redacted moves the video log aside to see a simple text editor that was hiding behind it. A printout of this text was recovered and filed in the field kit. The printout directed Dr. Redacted to place a safe on floor 54.
To a safe on floor 54.
I directed him to a safe on floor 54 and provided a combination. Dr. Redacted leaves the observation deck and proceeds to 54 without event, arriving on a cubicled office floor. He proceeds to the desk mentioned in the document and finds a safe hidden beneath a desk undisturbed. The combination provided opens the safe and reveals a notebook, filed in the field kit. Seeing filed and field right next to each other in my brain.
I want to challenge like every SCP author who like publishes something this expansive, where it's just like, okay, you need to read it out loud first.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's a good litmus test because you'll
Every-
find
Every
Like,
SCP author should
right.
have like a podcast where they're required to read their SCP
Well,
first.
and I know that I had sent the two of you, both the Volgan and the Exploring series reading of this. I've since noticed. First of all, I believe the Volgan is actually from New Zealand, and he enunciates his American accent so well that he's able to really like accomplish these. And the Exploring series is also very good at like pacing and reading things. But yeah, it's funny to go through some of these where you're just like, wow, like the reading channels like aren't just pulling stuff off the wiki and just like being like that. Like no, like a lot of this takes like
a lot of practice, prep work, pacing. In all honesty, I wouldn't mind more reading practice because this is probably the most reading I do out of like the week. So it's an upside of doing this. I'm not as bad as when I started.
This is why I bully you for your bad reading too, because it forces you to learn.
Cyberbullying works for kids.
Well, and you know, even with my joke, promoting that we were going to be having this call, I was just kind of doing like vocal warm-ups, and I just like couldn't even say what I was trying to say. Like these things take multiple takes. And also, you know, if you are an SCP author and you're wanting to see, you know, your article be read by other channels.
Normies.
You know, like it's if you want to see your articles read by some of the bigger channels, like, you know, record yourself reading it and see like, does this flow? And this is such an iconic article that you can get it. But yeah, it's like sometimes you'll run into these little things where you're like, oh wow, that's not easy to say, or that doesn't flow when I speak it. It's just something I wanted to point out.
Yeah. I think usually you can read something in your head, but it's harder out loud. But if you can read it out loud, it probably also reads in your head very well.
But yeah, it's always funny when you're reading it out loud and you're like, I already know this information and I suddenly can't remember how to speak words.
My mouth now fails me.
This is just how PowerCore reads, though. This isn't anything specific to this.
Hey, I gave you credit to cyberbullying, alright? Let's back it up a bit.
No, but I do as well. I do as well, though, where I'll run into something where I'm like, oh gosh, that's too many vowels together, like too many like unexpected like consonants together, and you don't even know that it's difficult to say until it's like.
Yeah, it's like actually
I digress. Anyways.
But yeah. The combination provided opens the safe and reveals a notebook filed in the field kit and a particular revolver that has been returned as redacted-redacted, in addition to the 24 rounds of ammo found within it. Dr. Redacted proceeds back to the elevator without event and returns to 34. Given the sheer number of floors available to explore and the vital information obtained from the observation deck, the test is considered over and the equipment retrieved. Before returning through the entry point, Dr. Redacted investigates a terminal nearby that has power and finds it shows the exact same screen the one on negative 110 shows. It is theorized that the author of the note installed a network virus to propagate it through the PC, through the building, so any PC on the network would be found and the information discovered. Wow, they didn't have to go through all that. Computer already on your floor. This is why you check your floors, kids. Dr. Redacted returns through the entry point, and the mirror returns to a reflective surface. All materials filed with other SCP-093 recovered materials. Analysis of redacted-redacted and the ammunition for it postponed for the reason that it will require deconstruction of one of the rounds, and they may be beneficial until the testing of 093 is resolved. Video ends.
All right. How you handling, PowerCore?
I'm good. It was just the filed next to field broke me for a second. I had to reformat myself. I'm like, okay, go a bit slower, couple of hiccups, it'll be fine. I do have to pee though, so
yeah,
you go pee.
And I will assure you that the final test is the shortest.
Yes, I've already looked at it.
Yes.
You go pee. While you go pee.
Go pee. I want to hear if we have questions or comments. Maybe we can,
I was about to say, Jackie, you had an idea. PowerCore doesn't need to be here for that.
Oh wow!
You said you had ideas. Liquid. I've gone through 4 bottles of water, by the way.
That's how many they send in with the D class when they go into. Gosh, I love how power chord's just like powered down. It's like,
Yeah, he gets up and leaves, and his just character just freezes.
It's like,
Or like,
buddy, you there? You good? So yeah, at least when I was like thinking about looking at this particular test, I guess through the lens of maybe like taking place in a game, I was thinking more of like some of the more like liminal space type of things. I really like that moment of the doctor kind of realizing that he should stop. The elevator. I was reminded of. I don't know if you ever played. Did you ever play Detroit Become Human?
I had not played it, but I've watched it played through like a good number of times.
Yeah, I was very much reminded of like there's a moment in Detroit Become Human where you are Connor going back to the CyberLife headquarters, and if you do not stop the elevator at a certain point, it's it's a game over basically after all of your progress. And I was kind of reminded of that in the moment where I'm just like it's cool to kind of see this test being taken over by a completely different type of person. I'm not quite sure if I have an idea for like another just like game item or game element. But I do like seeing, as I've mentioned, so many of my favorite things up to this point taking place in a game setting would be, more freedom of exploration, more freedom of choice.
This would be a cool adventure game if it was like just you could recreate this entire article just as it's contained.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a person with the most control over their choices in this one. I find it. Gosh, I hate using words like least favorite, but when I think of which of these tests doesn't necessarily resonate with me the most, it's probably this one. Perhaps
competent.
Perhaps because he is more in control, and you feel a lot more of that tension and that fear with the people who are being really forced into these situations and kind of forced to encounter these things. But I do like that he knew exactly where to go and knew exactly what to do, and I do like that he was very, very, very wrong about these creatures being in the building.
Yep, we've seen no evidence.
And we saw the largest one to date. But yeah, as far as like any ideas would go, like it's a bit more of the same, I would say, as far as just kind of how it resonates with me is just kind of, I like being able to explore documents and go places. And I like that. I think pacing wise with this story, why it really, really works is that it was a very wise decision at this point in the story to take somebody with more executive control to be like, all right, I'm going to open this file. I'm going to grab these documents. I'm going to go down to this floor. Whoopsie. No, I'm not. Like
that was an idea. That went horribly wrong.
But you guys had some ideas when we started reading this portion.
Oh, yeah. One was because of the fucking hymns. The ASM mouse, because it's an ASMR mouse. Every time you click on it, it whispers you sweet nothings or whatever customizable sounds you had intended for it. Upon both clicks, swipes, and middle clicks. Warning, swipes are allowed to be disabled due to possible aggravations due to overexposure to the noise. Now, couple this with cognitohazard sounds, and you have yourself a nice recipe for a saboteur computer. Every time you're exposed to the mouse, that's a great idea. You just keep scrolling it to the right. You can never stop.
I'll let you have that one, Darwin. Yeah, totally.
Yay! I'm reinforced to create this now.
So my one of the ideas I had kind of falls along that idea. I had 2 ideas for constructs, like little robot people. One could be a construct, or it could just be an actual literal little sentient mouse guy. It was just a bard who just sings like holy hymns. That's it. So it's just like a little bard that walks around who's like a sentient like computer mouse or something. Who's just like
on his little hat to sing him war hymns as he fights.
I love it.
Well, he has the little hat on, and then he pulls it off in the middle of the fight to like respect the holiness of the hymn as he like grants like inspiration and stuff. Yeah, so it's just a cute little.
I love hearing from you guys because it's like it's difficult, for me as like the person who's like bringing in the article to like suddenly like detach myself from the article and be like, oh, now I'm thinking about something completely. So I love like hearing from you guys where it's just like, oh my gosh, that's really cool. I love it.
We dissect with our pleb hands.
And the other construct idea I had, cubicles, white cube constructs. That's it. They're just white cube constructs that just do something kind of like Mr. Meeseeks. They just give them like a specific task.
Oh god. Self-replicating cubicles. Wherever they go, they actually turn the entire floor into an office space. They're a parasite. You have to be, if you see a white cubicle in the wild, burn it. It will turn this area into an office retail space. Call centers will manifest around these cubicles. Concentration.
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh my god.
I feel like what was it? It was
And they infect the people who are there too, turn them into office workers.
Yep. Inexplicably, there are more workers here now. A business was created because there were too many cubicles.
Actually, Aaron from Game Grumps just played this recently. It's Superliminal.
Yeah,
Oh,
another
yeah.
game.
And I was just reminded of that just now, just kind of just like being in that like office space and just like replicating things and like having to like, it's just very surreal in like how mundane it all is. And you're just like in this weird dream state, type of thing. I was kind of reminded of that.
I've obtained mastery over the 3 dimensions so I can do my office work more efficiently and to spawn in my paperwork without actually having to go over to it.
Yeah, I guess it's difficult for me to come up with like a new idea when I read some of this stuff because I'm very like in the zone of it. But as far as like games that it reminds me of, like
let's be honest, 90% of what we come up with probably isn't a new idea. Someone somewhere has probably thought of it.
Well, and that's SCP as well.
That's writing in general.
Yeah, and writing in general, exactly. It's more of a just kind of like, hey, taking something, but like if you're passionate about it, and just kind of being like, how can we transform that? But yeah, thinking about this article from a like gaming lens, I'm like, this would totally be the like liminal space level, where everything is. Where you but from that horror element though as well of thinking like everything's good and then being like
horror liminal game where you can't actually gauge your distance from the creatures. You just decide, oh yeah, I'm gonna pluck open this door. Oh no, I'm in a very bad place now.
Yeah, well, and that's what I like about kind of reviewing this test where it's like, yeah, he really thought that he was safe and he did handle things professionally where he got out okay and made the correct decisions, all things considered. But man, that's a really good horror opportunity right there where it's just like, I was wrong. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Whoops.
Time to deal with me being wrong. Yes.
Maybe I leave now. I've got stuff. We came for stuff. I got stuff. I got the stuff. Let me just bring this back and go. Yep.
So so we have one more test.
Yes.
As I said, this is the shortest one. And then I wanted to read one tiny addendum after this that I think would pretty much contextualizes everything without you having to read the entire thing. You can comb it and everything. But yes, so we have one more test. Let's see.
I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
This. This one, this
Red like my throat will be.
Yeah, read this test, and then I will read my final kind of submission of addendums.
Your final
that kind of
evidence to submit.
Yes. You guys are awesome. I'm having some of fun.
SCP-093 Mirror Test 5 Color Red. SCP-093 distributed amongst staff until a new color could be generated by contact with it. Service Technician Blank was able to cause SCP-093 to take on a fierce red hue and glow, much brighter than the object's normal color. Blank agreed to assist with the test of SCP-093. Per Dr. Blank's request, Blank Blank was given to Technician SCP Blank given to Technician Blank for use in this test, so he has the gun. When applied to the mirror for the test, SCP-093 generates an unknown environment. No color tinge appears present on the displayed destination, which is comprised of red stonework. Technician blank enters the mirror and video capture begins. The video flickers to life, and Technician blank, known hereafter as subject, is viewing a large cylindrical pillar that is rotating on its own. The object is of unknown height and appears to be 1.8 meters, 6 feet, in width. Holes are distributed throughout the object at seemingly random intervals. On occasion, a beam of white light is emitted from these holes. Is emitted from these holes. It's an end sentence. Turning of the camera finds that the beams are connected to a multitude of objects similar to SCP-093 that are part of the room's wall. The room turns out to also be cylindrical in shape, with countless copies of SCP-093. Subject turns back to entry point and finds it is a section of the wall that is missing its copy of SCP-093, presumably the one carried with subject. Other sections of the wall on inspection are also found to be missing their copies, leading to speculation that this may be some sort of central array. The subject finds a ladder in the floor while examining the room and proceeds down it at Control's request. The ladder exits into a large, clean room full of computer equipment that appears antiquated compared to previously encountered equipment. Large computers running on reel-to-reels are clicking and spinning at various locations. A light bulb of unknown meaning turns on for 10 seconds, then turns off. A large CRT monitor is displaying single words in 8 colors at roughly 5-second intervals. While observed, the words clean, unclean, clean, clean, lost, unclean flash on the screen. Proceeding through the room, it ends in a large glass window as another observation deck. This deck looks out over another series of tubes, as witnessed before, but far fewer, and filled with a blue liquid. What appears to be electrical current dances over many of the tubes at erratic intervals. At least 5 tubes at first glance are empty and broken. At the observation window, a keyboard is present on a pedestal awaiting a selection to be made. The options available on the screen are Tube Status, which waits for a numerical input, Reports, Situation X549, Situation X550, Evacuation Log, Bullshit,
Most important
Agent
status.
blank dash blank blank dash blank's report, and Facility Fire Plan. Video expunged. All selections that generated text were transcribed by subject and verified by a control member who passed through the portal to recover them. This process took approximately 2 hours, and a video feed was deleted to condense this report. Recorded documents are filed as blank 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 blank. Video interrupted.
Dash blank.
Control lost contact with subject approximately 30 minutes after departure of Control Tech. Subject was asked to remain in the area and observe the machinery in the containment room to make observations for debriefing. The SCP-093 mirror portal returned to a reflective surface prematurely, and all video contact with the subject was lost. Control was unable to reestablish due to SCP-093 being across the mirror. A time lapse of 1 minute and 48 seconds was recorded before the mirror portal reestablished itself and the subject returned through the portal. The subject appeared to be in good health and condition despite the time lost, but spoke little. During immediate debriefing, the subject underwent sudden convulsions, and medical staff was alerted. While attempting to subdue the subject, he displayed enhanced strength and used blank blank to shoot one of the debriefing staff, killing them. Guards shot the subject, once with a sidearm in the heart and once in the chest, but the subject did not fall. All staff evacuated the room, and a second shot was fired by the subject, which missed. A more heavily armed team entered the debriefing room and used automatic weapons to dispatch the subject. Reports confirmed that the subject did not bleed when shot, but instead leaked a green-brown substance that seemed to be a mix of solution observed in some containment tubes and the material recovered during Test 3. All further SCP-093 tests have been discontinued, while a review of materials recovered is in effect. A secondary tape recording device was found to have activated in the field kit after loss of video feed, and its contents have been filed with other recovered materials. All recovered materials from SCP-093 testing are Level 4 classification. Release must be approved by no fewer than 2 Level 4 personnel. Staff with acceptable clearance, please sign in with Dr. Blank for access to the materials recovered from SCP-093 tests.
Ooh.
So, oh my goodness.
Oh my indeed. That was like the best context for the creatures and how the giant white ones are implicitly made as well as where all the little 093 discs come from. You found the data hub, and you probably tripped the security measure.
So I want to, before we wrap this up, I want to I'm going through I have a book here with just this entire article. It has all of the recovered information, and I again highly encourage anybody who's interested in this. The answers are all there. There are logs of everything that happened, everything that led up to this entire event. You have access to it. You can read it. I, at the very least, wanted to read the very last recovered report from this entire data log for everybody. You guys ready? You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Agent report.
Okay. So this is the final agent report. Yes.
Agent blank.
My name is blank. Yes. My name is blank, and I am an agent at the Foundation. The year in my world is 1972. I assume it's the same in this world, but from what I have seen, due to SCP-093, life on this world ended in approximately 1954. I've used SCP-093 to visit a number of locales, starting and ending here at this center. I have seen the landscapes where no grass will grow. I have run from the unclean as they pursue anything they sense. I have no understanding of how they hunt, but I have learned of what they are. Approximately 350 years ago, or so, this world experienced a technological boom that ours did not. The source of this seems to have been the arrival of He, a godlike being of unknown origin. He declared the world unclean and full of sin, and the only way to purge itself of this sin was to purge all of the sinners. A war. A war, whoever was left alive was clean. Amazing advances in science were bestowed to all cultures for a period of 10 years to prepare them for this war during that time. And then he disappeared. The war happened anyway. The instigator, the Holy Union of Land, apparently the landmass that for us would become the United States. Records are sketchy, and books that detail
Even
anything
in alternate
about this
worlds.
I know, it's so patriotic.
Yes, so we have an eldritch god that appears, gives us a bunch of technology, and is just like, go for it.
But he's just a war gamer, right? Your average civilization player. He just drops in. All right, we're gonna do a war. I'm gonna let you guys tech up for a bit, and I'll come back. He never comes back.
Records are sketchy, and books that detail anything about this time period are forbidden in this world. I located a cache of recorded history by following a series. Use me.
Just in case.
Just in case. Yes, records are sketchy, and books that detail anything about this time period are forbidden in this world. I located a cache of recorded history by following a series of corrupted computer communications. It seems the primary weapon used in this war for his love was in fact people, exposed to something called his holy tears, a liquid compound I have seen in use even today in abandoned medical facilities. His holy tears purge the sin from the unclean and make them love him. At least that's what the label states. The records I recovered are very unclear about how this war was waged, except to state that his holy chosen walked the lands of the sinful and took their sins unto themselves, and those who cried for his salvation received it and are now his children. Those who denied his love were purified in his radiance. But something apparently happened no one knew how to deal with. The unclean, the large creatures that are half man and devour whatever they touch that lives and breathes. I actually found a scientific report written by somebody who stumbled here with a SCP-093 copy. These creatures are the result of exposure to a very pure form of his tears, resulting in a genetic apocalypse occurring within the exposed. Let's see, hold on. There are terms in here, something about quantum restructuring. I don't understand any of this, but it means they were once humans like everything else, and that they couldn't be controlled, but they could be contained.
Or secured, even protected.
There you go.
Dun, dun, dun.
So many implications, dude. They seem to be attracted to his tears at a central point. Was established in various regions where a person with the purest form of his tears stays, keeping the unclean in that area known as the infertile land. And a lot of these recovered documents talk about stuff like that. Yeah. Something went wrong with that too. I'm not sure what, but everything fell apart. The power structure, the culture, the people, all of it fell to ruins. And now those things somehow shamble around the land as if it's new owners with no purpose or direction. You can stand next to one, and if you can stand the stink, they just slip right past you. If you catch their attention, though, video game idea. Yes.
Mhm.
If you catch their attention, though, that's it. They move like lightning. If they need to, and like a snail, unless they have reason to speed up. Sometimes I think they chase just to do it. Others, they move to kill. I think someone in this facility, or someone's, I think someone is in this facility or someone's. I keep hearing voices and requests coming from areas under the floor. I want to leave this before I explore the facility any further. I have sent SCP-093 back through the entry mirror to seal the gate. These things can't be let into our world, nor should we have anything to do with this one. We're simply not smart enough to understand it all, I feel. I don't think the unclean can die. They are immortal, but they don't want to be. They just want to die. They're in my head, I think. I didn't notice it until now. But equipment in this room, it's starting to react to me. Words on the screen, begging for help. I remember touching the tears, smelling it, tasting it, just a touch, not eating it. I just touched it, tasting it for the acidity. We have pretty stupid investigative procedure here, I think. Haha. The High Fathers are alive. They have technology we only imagine in our comics given to us by him. Some of the records on this machine indicate space travel, but they didn't go far, just far enough to watch the world fall apart and wait. Come back and take it. But if they're up there, who's in this building with me? I've seen the faces of the people, the unclean. They show up on the pictures cast by the machine in the room with me, watching me, I think. They're everywhere in this world, only seen by machines now. They don't look sad or happy, just curious. They just want to know why. Why? Why them? Why did this all happen? I don't know. I just don't know. They showed me things when I touched them, and it's not quite like the records say. The unclean remember it all. Every person they touch becomes part of them, safe inside to join them, but dead to us. Every mind, every feeling, every terror, it's eternal to them. I kind of want to join them too. Too much. They want me to find them to kill them? To kill him. There is no war. It was him, it. It came from between the folds of space and time and worlds and light, and dark something that should have slipped in and called out to them. Sorry, there's a bit of a format screw with the rest of this article. It starts to kind of like...
It's stream of consciousness.
Yeah. Let's see, yeah. Slipped out and called to them as their god. They believed, they tasted it and touched it, and it laid with them, became its property, and did its will, but it's still here. The SCP-093, it brought with it, pulled forcefully with it, built it. I don't know. They don't know, but it belongs to him. It lets him move between places, between worlds. So I broke it. Haha, I threw away the pieces of it. I threw holes so those doors are closed just like ours is closed, and I can't go home. I can't go home. I don't know what else I can do now. It calls out through the rock somehow. It knows where they are, but can't touch them. But if you hide the rock, he can't call out, and he's stuck too. I got you, you son of a bitch. I got you. Bang, bang, ha, ha. I touched him with my fist and my gun, and he fell down. But he'll get back up soon. I'm sorry. I did all that I could. I did all that I could. Please let me sleep now. Please let me sleep. Yay!
But yeah, that does contextualize it. Thank you, Agent redact.
I'm reading that just now. I'm just like, wow, like the original button breaker. Am I right? Like,
I wonder where it all came from.
Maybe they were all part of the same grand plan.
So yeah, gosh, it's so cool to like go back over through that again. I know it was like so much, but just like there's just so much there. There's so much there. There's so much there that yeah, this is just a radicalized society that went nutso because some God visited their civilization, gave them a bunch of technology, told them that eventually, you know, they were going to have to go to war for something. The technology they developed was actually what caused the apocalypse, and apparently whoever was in charge of the society escaped to space or something.
Like he just fucked off and didn't come back. You didn't like to check up on him.
There's so much going on, and so yeah, it's you know, I touched on I guess if I had any idea after reading all of this, and I'd love to hear from you guys, so I'll shut the fuck up for 2 seconds after this.
Keep talking, I don't mind.
But no, the idea that comes to my mind, circling back to just what I've spoken about this whole time, is that this is a fantastic example of replay value in an SCP article. This immediately makes you want to go back to the beginning and read everything. That it immediately makes you want to go listen to what other people have talked about it and listen to like video essays on it, or write new stories about it, which people still are on the wiki to this day. You know, because it's just like, what on earth happened here? This is insane. So yeah, I love just like you can take like tiny bits of it where you're like, oh, you know, mood rock changes color depending on what type of person you are, and then all of a sudden you're just like, all right, so Eldritch God comes through a different dimension and like
and starts uplifting humanity, and they broke themselves. This mood rock, that's how he travels between worlds themselves.
there's a lot going on. But yeah, I think that this article is very exemplary of anybody who's like, what is SCP and how do I get into it and is it for me? I'm like, this article has it all. So ta-da!
This is the big example.
And upon it, do more stuff with it. Allow the community to also feed upon it because it gives plenty of leads for other people to be able to expand.
And that's the biggest thing about SCP. Part of the reason I felt it would be a great place to start for this podcast. The goal of this podcast eventually is not to just read SCPs, but to like get into all sorts of different creative writing formats, creative writing stuff, maybe just short stories that people have written that come on and stuff like that. But SCPs is a great place to start because as a lot of people who get into it and read it and talk about it will tell you, SCPs, one of the like most powerful factors of SCPs is the like self-building that the community does on itself. So one person will write a thing and then another person will write a thing about that thing. If they disagree with how that thing did something, they'll change it or they'll like mock it or they'll do something like that. If they like something, they'll build onto that, or they'll do both in the same thing. And somebody else will take from both of those and somebody else will take from both of those, all those, or just one of those.
This started out as a goofy pharmaceutical commercial. And look at us. Look at us now. We're like killing God.
We're in some sci-fi shit now. Science? Yeah, sci-fi shit.
A true shonen experience.
Right. Starting out with just
JRPG.
Yes.
That time my moon rock helped me kill the god.
A JRPG that starts with you discovering a strange mood rock.
Yeah.
Alright.
It's very much a JRPG type of experience where it's just like, yes, like women of average. But yes, so that was my very, very humble and very concise submission to your podcast. I'm sorry.
Thank you for the content.
We appreciate you coming out. We appreciate you bringing this. I think definitely next week we're gonna try smaller ones.
This was like our little end game, okay? We got
Yes.
to build up. Have the big one.
I knew it was going to be massive, and of course we were going to go on tangents. And yes, if you ever make the horrible decision to ever have me on again, I promise I'll keep it more concise.
This will be a wonderful decision, and I've already made the decision. It's just a matter of figuring out when.
Of course.
Yeah. So yes, very expansive. I again, thank you. Like I said, watching you guys really kind of reinvigorated my spirit when it came to what I love about SCP. And so thank you. I know this was crazy and all over the place, but I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to bring one of my favorites to you guys, explain why it's my favorite, why I just invite everybody to go explore the wiki more and learn more about things. Yeah, so thank you. I really, really, really appreciate that opportunity to go over it. I know it was a lot.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for bringing this to us. Basically the big reason I ended up even thinking I wanted to invite you on is because listening to you on the DSCP podcast talking about your experience with SCP,
Writing.
very, very brain right now.
I know it's a lot.
in general.
Are you in the Lord's tears right now? Or are you about to turn into
I'm in my own tears right now.
little mushy, unclean marshmallow man? We're gonna amalgamate into a face.
Oh, he's already a marshmallow man. He's soft, fluffy, and sweet on the inside.
Amalgamate
and secretes brown fluid sometimes.
We now need to amalgamate together. We'll all be one big marshmallow man, which shares feelings, senses, and emotions. It's basically just a giant orgy constantly.
Yeah, but just the unfun kind of orgy, and there's more brown fluid than there should be in an orgy.
Somebody didn't get the memo didn't get the limits to the party.
Wrong kind of orgy, but
I respect the endeavor, though.
We're really happy to have had you on, Jackie. We're so happy to see that. Yay, our podcast helps someone.
Yep. That's the really weird. That's why I was saying I was going to cry earlier because it's I did this because it's a fun kick. Fun. And
no, I thank you so much because I think Force, you were about to maybe touch on that. I did mention in the Discovering SCP podcast with your previous guest that SCP came into my life in a very lonely period of my life. I discovered it in March of 2020, right when we were going into lockdown, going into isolation, and feeling very disconnected from the world. And it inspired me to wake up every single day and be curious. And we were already talking about facing a lot of our fears and everything. And so yeah, thank you for letting me bring this giant article that is one of my favorites. And I hope that anybody who was listening, will take the huge amount of ideas that you can take from this article. There's so many places to go. And so yeah, thank you guys for letting me just understood the assignment too well.
You're welcome to Blair all over us anytime you please.
Maybe with some forewarning.
A little bit of forewarning, okay? We need make sure everyone's on consent, on board for the same Blair train. But it was a quite enjoyable Blair train. It was just fun.
I was gonna say, if you have an idea real quick, go ahead. I'm burnt ideas now.
I know. It was a lot.
And because I have to get to my Minecraft thing, which started half an hour ago.
So you have other places to be in the gaming verse. Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm dying of starvation too. I should probably fix that at some point. Two quick ideas that I got. One was harkening back to the Office Space story, and that was it'd be a pretty cool horror survival story for you're not limited by health, you're limited by recording footage space. You need to keep finding additional recording footage to keep your camera on, otherwise you will get terminated the moment you are no longer able to provide any more footage. You need to keep your checkpoints are like your little recording relays to keep expanding your range for how far up you can go while transmitting. The moment you stop, you will be killed. You are here just to explore. And if you solve the mystery, you can come back. Oh my god. Or maybe you die anyway, and that's the true tragic ending.
So building on that concept, following the concept of SCP-093, you could start first character in this weird space that you don't understand, and you go through this door, and so you've got like no idea what you're doing. You don't know how to like survive. You run out of video footage really, really quickly, and then the next character is somebody else stepping out and seeing the like replay of the last video footage there, and you have that information there present for the character as well as for yourself. That like the moment the cameras went out, they died, and so now you know, and the character knows. I've got to keep. Let's prepare these receivers so that I can get out further. These batteries so I can get.
That actually reminds me a little bit like BioShock Infinite a bit, where each time that you die technically is like canonical to your timeline, and you're coming up to that point, and sometimes you will see remnants of the booker that deceased before you, but you still have that information up to that point, and you manage to continue to survive. I like that a lot.
And the whole premise that like potentially each time he dies in a world, he actually dies, and it's just like waking up in a different one.
I love that bridge when you mix the ludonarrative dissonance of respawning. So rather than just I'm gonna let you try that again because your character's not supposed to die, it's like you died. Everyone knows you died, but we're just gonna keep moving anyway. That's part of life. Dying multiple times.
We were talking about earlier. Undertale does it.
Yeah,
determination.
But yeah, as far as if that's your genre, and if you like if you're looking for an SCP article to just unlock 1,000 ideas, go to this one. It's got it all. It's got it all. So
we didn't cover everything. There were like additional like article add-ons and stuff that we don't have time to do.
Like the whole cover material section for your audience viewing pleasure.
I always encourage people to go to the wiki themselves for the real meat and potatoes. But because we scratched the surface and we've been having a delightful 2 hours together.
Almost 3.
I was gonna say, I know they're like please leave.
No,
I'm gonna fly away on my little bunny wings.
Powercore, you had another idea.
Did I?
You said you had 2.
Oh yeah, I did say I had 2. Was I lying? No, I wasn't lying. The other was based on that nexus with all the discovery and moving disk portals. Easy idea for a hub world. That each one of those does contain like a whole other, similar to Stargate. Each one has like a whole other nexus of glass portals it can access depending on the color. So like this one's red led to the hub world. But another one's red leads to like a different section of that world, or even a whole other different dimension. Not even all the worlds that we saw necessarily were of the same like planet. They could have been other planets that fell to very eerily similar fates.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
I thank you guys. I thank you so much. I know this is a lot.
Thank you once again for coming out. I don't want to let you go. I don't want to let you go because I'm enjoying the hell out of this, but I also do have to let you go because I have to end the recording, and I have to go do another thing, and I have to use the bathroom as well. So,
I would love to come back, and I will bring a much shorter article next time. I swear.
Of course,
it's
that's
not
why
it isn't the size that counts anyways. So feel free to bring whatever you need. Thank you very much for coming out, Jackrabbit. As always, my name is Forced to Reckon.
I'm Powercore 2000,
and that is Jackrabbit.
You guys later, you cadets.
And you guys are awesome. Stay awesome and have an awesome time. You awesome little lava monsters. Until next time, we are signing off. Bye-bye, bitches.
Bye.